Chapter 609, Guiyuan Ancestral Code. On the judge's seat, Qin Shujian saw through Wang Tieju's technique. Guiyuan Ancestral Code. But it was not the current version of the Guiyuan Ancestral Code, but the previous version. That version. There was a complete cultivation method in the sect. Also, from beginning to end, the Guiyuan Ancestral Code had the means of refining the body. The Lingwu chapter was the immortal body of the Wisdom King. The Shunwu chapter was the ancient immortal body. Judging from the Guiyuan Ancestral Code that Wang Taizhu was using, it should be at the immortal body of the Wisdom King. Not only the immortal body of the Wisdom King, he also cultivated another body refining technique. The divine light of his body is restrained, but his qi and blood are vast. He has great achievements in body refining. Qin Shujian observed carefully and could already see through most of Wang Tieju's trump cards. With his current realm, it was not a problem to see through a spiritual martial force. Originally, Qin Shujian thought that Wang Taizhu might not be a match for Test Jianfeng. But now, it seemed that it was not the case. Test Jianfeng's strength was in his indomitable sword principle. 7 killing gods and ghosts against the stars. It was a murderous sword technique. But if this move didn't work, then test the sword's greatest reliance would be useless. Exactly so. A sufficiently strong physical body was the nemesis of this sword technique. However, it would depend on how far Wang Taizhu had cultivated. If he only relied on the immortal body of the Wisdom King, it was still not enough. The immortal body of the Wisdom King. It was immortal. Once the body was injured, it could recover in a very short time. But in terms of pure defensive power, it was not as good as many martial arts techniques. In the field, Wang Taizhu opened and closed. His moves were like Vajra subduing demons. Although he was barehanded, each attack was powerful and heavy. It made people feel like they were facing a mountain range. Compared to it, Test Jianfeng's attacks were also unusually fierce. The messy sword qi. It occupied more than half of the formation area. If it was an ordinary peak spiritual martial force cultivator, it would not be easy to protect himself. But in front of Wang Taizhu, there was no problem at all, because his main focus was body refinement. In terms of the toughness of his physical body, it had already reached the level of a spiritual weapon. No matter how sharp the sword qi was, it was not an easy task to break through Wang Tieju's defense. On the contrary, although Test Jianfeng's attacks were fierce, his physical defense was weak. If he took Wang Tieju's attack, he might be defeated on the spot. At this moment, Wang Taizhu stood in the center of the field with his feet planted on the ground. Pale golden gang qi spread out from his body. Although the speed of his attack was not fast, he was prepared to intercept the attack. And around him, it was Test Jianfeng's ghostly figure. Sword lotuses bloomed one after another. The cold sword light covered the black sword energy, and a terrifying killing intent spread out. Boom! All of a sudden, the phantom dissipated and turned into a sword energy that slashed down. Wang Taizhu suddenly turned around and struck out with his palm. The powerful force directly shattered the sword aura. Moreover, the attack didn't stop. He rushed towards Test Jianfeng. Bang! The testing sword edge seemed to be unable to withstand this power, and its body suddenly collapsed. In the next moment, the collapsed body turned into dozens of afterimages. Everyone seemed to be Test Jianfeng himself, but also seemed to be different. Wang Tieju's face was serious. With a low roar, the gang qi broke out of his body and turned into a condensed shield, firmly protecting him inside. Immediately after, the terrifying attack had arrived. The crisscrossing sword qi in the sky bombarded down. However, it only made the shield ripple slightly, and there was no sign of it breaking. Subsequently, dozens of afterimages rushed forward. The long sword emitted a cold light and instantly destroyed the shield. The blade of the sword fell on Wang Tieju's body, and in an instant, dazzling sparks burst out. Ding! Ding! No matter how the long sword slashed, Wang Taizhu did not move. His golden skin seemed to be made of gold, and it had reached an indestructible level. The 7 killing gods and demons against the stars sword technique was divided into 2 parts. In fact, just like this, there were endless afterimages. Although they were afterimages, in fact, The power of each afterimage was not much weaker than the real body. It was not easy to accurately find the real body. Wang Taizhu also knew the ingenuity of this move, and he knew how to deal with it. Attack with defense. This was the most appropriate way to do it. All of a sudden, scratches appeared on the golden skin, and the moment blood splattered, Wang Taizhu instantly attacked one of the afterimages. His physical body was comparable to a spiritual weapon, and it was indestructible. It could break the defense of the physical body. Only the spiritual weapon in Test Jianfeng's hand could. So, at the moment when the defense was broken, Wang Taizhu found the real body of Test Jianfeng. In an instant, the afterimage retreated. In the next second, the sword qi in the sky gathered together and turned into a shocking sword. Like a black rainbow piercing the sun, it pierced towards Wang Taizhu. Wang Taizhu stood upright, and a layer of solid gang qi spread out from his body, turning the 3 feet around him into an absolute domain. At the same time, a shocking sword intent rushed towards his spiritual deity. However, the spiritual spirit in Wang Taizhu's mind sat cross-legged, unshakable like a Buddha. The shocking sword intent rushed over. Instead, the spiritual spirit opened his eyes and let out an earth-shattering roar. Break? A simple word, but it resounded throughout the entire main sect. Just as the others' minds were swaying, the black rainbow had already broken the gang qi shield and accurately fell on Wang Taizhu's body. The long sword entered his body. Wang Taizhu's physical body suddenly tightened, and his muscles firmly clamped the sword like an iron clamp. Then, he completely ignored the injuries on his body and punched Test Jianfeng's shoulder. A terrifying power erupted. Test Jianfeng's shoulder bones were shattered, and his body flew out horizontally. Just as he was flying out, the long sword had already been taken away. A spray of blood. The scene suddenly became silent. Looking at the 2 people in the field, there was a sword wound on Wang Taizhu's chest, and the sword qi was raging, trying to prevent his body from recovering, causing the wound to heal slowly, and blood instantly flowed out of the wound. On the other side, Test Jianfeng's left shoulder blade was broken, and blood dyed half of his sleeve red, causing him to barely hold the sword. Who won? Who lost? For a moment, the disciples watching the battle were all confused. Su Yuanming took a deep breath and said with a serious expression, "The 2 elders are extremely powerful, and Elder Test's 7 killing moves against the stars is still unparalleled. What a pity." Speaking of this, he turned his head to look at Zhang Tiniu and the others who also looked serious, and said with a chuckle, "Unfortunately, Elder Wang is still slightly better. Elders, you should accept your loss." The others couldn't see it. How could Su Yuanming not see that Test Jianfeng had already lost? Although the wound on Wang Taizhu's chest was serious, it was not fatal, nor was it enough to make him lose his combat ability. But Test Jianfeng was different. Now, his opponent only had a sword in one hand, and his left shoulder was severely injured, so he couldn't fight anymore. If it was a life-and-death battle, now that Wang Taizhu attacked, Test Jianfeng would definitely not be able to resist. Therefore, Wang Taizhu had won this battle. Number 1 on the spiritual martial ranking list, he lives up to his name. Zhang Feng took out a long spiritual weapon sword from his storage ring, gave it to Su Yuanming, and then turned to leave. There was no need to watch the battle anymore. As for the strength of the 2, Zhang Feng's mind also fluctuated quite a bit. He couldn't block Test Jianfeng's sword. He couldn't break Wang Taizhu's defense. If it was a life-and-death battle, he would have a great chance of losing. As the head elder, his strength was not as good as the 2 ordinary elders. For Zhang Feng, it was a bit of a blow, but it wasn't a big blow. As for the other side, Niu Feng and Zhang Tiniu also handed over their bets with a depressed face. They didn't expect Wang Taizhu was really that powerful. Its powerful defense had already reached the level of a high-rank spiritual artifact. Or else, how could he block Test Jianfeng's sword? After all, the long sword in his hand was already an upper-grade spiritual weapon. With its sharpness, it could easily kill a cultivator in the spiritual martial realm. Together with that shocking sword, the strength of the attack had reached a level that could make the ordinary divine martial realm change color. But even so, it was still taken by Wang Taizhu. That powerful defensive strength had already reached a level that caused one to feel despair. At the referee's table, Qin Shujian said in a deep voice, "Elder Wang has won this battle. Both of you can go to the alchemy hall to get some healing pills. If there are other disciples who want to challenge the heaven leaderboard, they can do so now. The next thing will be supervised by Elder Su." Yes, Sect Master. Su Yuanming was at a loss at first, but he quickly reacted. He knew. He definitely didn't hide the fact that he set up a private bet from the other party. Letting him preside at this time was obviously to punish him. For this, Su Yuanming could only nod and accept his fate. Soon after, Qin Shujian drifted away. Perhaps it was because the battle between Test Jianfeng and Wang Taizhu made some disciples' blood boil. After Qin Shujian left, suddenly, a disciple walked out and threatened to challenge someone on the heaven list. Not long after, in the martial arts practice field, there was another fierce battle. It was just that this battle wasn't as fierce as before. When the battle was unfolding, Qin Shujian had already returned to his residence. The battle that he presided over just now didn't cause too much waves in his heart. It was just the strength that Wang Taizhu showed. It made Qin Shujian look slightly. There are many books in the library pavilion, as well as the martial arts of various sections. As an elder of the library pavilion, if Wang Taizhu wants to read the martial arts, there are no restrictions. It seems that he didn't waste any time these few years. Qin Shujian was quite satisfied with this matter. He had always wanted to cultivate a strong enough powerhouse in the library pavilion. Now that he saw Wang Taizhu, it gave him some ideas. In the next few days, Qin Shujian didn't move his butt much. Ever since he made a breakthrough in the rules, he would often enter the mother stream of the rules to swim. For ordinary people, entering the mother stream of the rules would consume a lot of spiritual power. If it was maintained for too long, the spiritual power would not be able to support it. Only for heavenly human powerhouses, the combination of spiritual power and physical body, the power of spiritual power was like the power of the physical body. And Qin Shujian's physical strength, it was already comparable to a nirvana powerhouse. Therefore, the power of spiritual power was also incomparably vigorous. In addition to the superposition of the star manifestation body and the 9 tribulations immortal body, it allowed his physical strength to recover to a very terrifying level. As a result, Qin Shujian's spiritual power, although not to the point of inexhaustible, it was not an easy thing to exhaust it. In the mother stream of the rules, Qin Shujian was wandering in it. He wanted to find the power rule that he was compatible with, and also take this opportunity to observe the other rules in the mother stream of the rules. The mother stream of the rules seems to have no end, and there are more than thousands of rules contained in it. But among so many rules, there are only 365 rules that are easy to master. Then, what is the reason for the other rules that make it difficult for people to master? Qin Shujian suddenly stopped and looked at one of the rules that was 100 feet wide. This rule, it was similar to the power rule that he was compatible with, but to be honest, it should be bigger than the power rule. In other words, the rule in front of him was stronger than the power rule. Unlike the other rules, the rule in front of him emitted a deathly aura. After Qin Shujian hesitated for a moment, he directly changed direction and went towards this rule. Boom! A powerful force erupted, causing him to crash into the long river of rules. Just as he entered the long river of rules, a sense of loneliness surged in Qin Shujian's heart. Immediately after, it was a boundless, deathly stillness that surrounded him. In the next moment, Qin Shujian saw his spiritual power incarnation decaying at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths of time, the spiritual power incarnation had completely withered. In the courtyard, Qin Shujian suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His closed eyes opened, and a deathly aura lingered in them. But soon, the 13,200 star acupoints in his body vibrated at the same time. A vast map of the Milky Way appeared. He forcibly suppressed the deathly stillness of the energy. You went to touch other rules without permission? In his sea of consciousness, Godslayer said in a deep voice. Qin Shujian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His head was still in a splitting pain because of the disappearance of his spiritual power. After a long time, he calmed down, nodded, and said, "When I was wandering in the mother stream of rules, I accidentally saw a rule. Although I broke in to take a look, I didn't expect to die so quickly." Recalling the scene that seemed to have encountered in the long river of rules, Qin Shujian still had lingering fear. He had seen a lot of rule power, but there had never been a rule power that was as terrifying as the long river of rules just now. If such a rule was mastered by someone, then such a person, how terrifying would his strength be? Godslayer said, "There are countless rules in the mother stream of rules. Some of them are very weak, some of them are extremely powerful, and some of them are filled with fatal dangers. If you are not compatible with the power rule, you can still wander in these long rivers of rules at will. But you are compatible with the power rule. Under such circumstances, if you barge into one of the long rivers of rules without permission, you will definitely be seen as a rule invasion by the other long rivers of rules, and there will be a strong counterattack. With your current strength, if you encounter a counterattack by the rules, there is absolutely no possibility of resisting. It is fortunate that I destroyed your spiritual power. If the power of the rules pursues your physical body, you might die on the spot." Pursues the physical body? Qin Shujian thought of the deathly power that was suppressed by the galaxy map just now. If he guessed correctly, it was the power that extended from that rule. It was just that he suppressed it by force. Although that deathly power was not a threat to him, it was not weak at all. If it was placed on other cultivators in the 5th level of the celestial human realm, they would be crippled even if they did not die. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian could not help but ask, "Senior, there are countless rules in the mother stream of rules. Among so many rules, why is it that only 365 rules are the easiest to be compatible with?" He had only just thought of this question. Godslayer did not answer but asked instead, "When you entered the power rule, did you encounter any danger?" "There was once an expert's phantom that descended and stopped me from moving forward. That's it," Godslayer said faintly. "Although there are countless rules in the mother stream of rules, no one can be sure how many experts have been born in the world until now. No matter how many rules there are, it is not enough for so many experts to prove their Tao. When a law was validated by too many powerhouses, the obstructive force of that law would be much stronger than other laws. Therefore, if later generations want to prove their Tao through this rule, the difficulty level will be increased by several times. At the beginning of the world, most of the rules could be easily grasped by living beings. However, as time passed, in ancient times, there were only 365 rules left, which were easier for people to grasp. Perhaps there are not as many as 365 rules now. After a few million years, there may only be 100 or so rules left. This possibility is also very high. In addition to these rules, there are some rules that are naturally difficult to control, such as life and death, space-time, and other supreme rules. They are all existences that are difficult to grasp. If you are not careful, you may pay the price with your life. Following Godslayer's explanation, Qin Shujian finally understood what was going on. If that's the case, once someone masters these rules, won't they be very powerful? Yes and no. The god-slaying saber gave an ambiguous answer. Qin Shujian frowned and said, "Senior, what do you mean? I once heard the Emperor of Heaven say that what determines one's strength is not the strength of the rules, but the cultivator himself." Godslayer rummaged through his dusty memories and slowly said, "Any rule can be strong or weak. If you master a strong rule, then the cultivator's strength will indeed be stronger than ordinary people in the beginning. However, the end of all the rules is actually the same. In other words, strictly speaking, no rule is worse than another. When you walk to the extreme, they are all the same. All roads lead to Rome." Qin Shujian thought of a sentence from his previous life. The starting point of mastering the rules is different, but when you walk to the end, then the rules will be on an equal footing. Godslayer said, "You should have seen many long rivers of rules in the mother stream of rules. Some of them are very wide, while others are very narrow." "Indeed." Qin Shujian thought for a moment and replied. Godslayer said, "In fact, the size of the long river of rules is not fixed, just like the rule of power that you have mastered. Perhaps in your opinion now, the rule of power may not be the strongest rule of sin. However, as long as you grow to an extremely strong level, then your power will feed back the long river of rules. At that time, the rule of power will expand and surpass the other long rivers of rules. So seriously speaking, the strength of a cultivator is not determined by the rules, but the strength of the rules depends on the cultivator. Do you understand now? This junior understands. Qin Shujian addressed the god-slaying saber as a junior, which was one of the rare occasions that he did so. The strength of a cultivator is not determined by the rules. Instead, the strength of the rules depends on the cultivator himself. These things, if Godslayer didn't say it, he would have entered a misunderstanding. At this moment, after hearing the other party's words, he finally understood some things. Subsequently, Qin Shujian closed his eyes and healed. Just now, a strand of divine sense was destroyed by the long river of rules. That strand of divine sense could be considered a permanent loss. Fortunately, it was. He didn't use all of his divine sense's power to enter. Otherwise, when it was destroyed by the long river of rules, he would have completely fallen. It wasn't an easy task to restore a spiritual deity that had been slain. It took a full 3 days. Only then did Qin Shujian restore the spirit deity that had been destroyed. Immediately after, he once again entered the mother stream of rules. In the mother stream of rules, countless long rivers of rules flowed tightly, presenting a peaceful scene. However, Qin Shujian knew. Although the mother stream seemed calm on the surface, there were many hidden dangers within. If one dared to barge into each long river of rules, they would suffer a devastating blow. At this moment, Qin Shujian stood still in the mother stream of rules. He raised his head and looked up. There were still countless long rivers of rules crisscrossing there. He had no idea how long the entire mother stream of rules was, or even how deep it was, even the part where he was in the mother stream of rules. It was at the bottom of the river. It was near the surface of the river. He didn't have any clue. What is above the rules? Since this place is called the mother stream of rules, it should be similar to a long river. If there is a river surface, then jumping out of the mother stream of rules river surface, can I touch the existence above the rules? Qin Shujian remembered what Godslayer said about above the rules. How to reach above the rules. He didn't know it all, and he was sure that Godslayer definitely didn't know either. In ancient times, even the Emperor of Heaven shouldn't have reached the level above the rules. Or else, he wouldn't have been forced into a corner by the demonic abyss. As a result, above the rules, there were some mysteries. As his thoughts turned, Qin Shujian suddenly changed his direction. He no longer wandered in front, but swam upwards with all his might. And when he swam upwards, he found another problem. That was, the consumption of spiritual power upstream was higher than swimming forward by himself. It was just this consumption. It was still within the range that Qin Shujian could bear. In the mother stream of rules, he could only see a strand of spiritual power swimming desperately towards the river surface like a fish. Along the way, many rivers of rules passed by Qin Shujian. For this, Qin Shujian had to deliberately avoid these rivers of rules to avoid accidentally bumping into them. If that was really the case, perhaps this strand of spiritual power would also be gone. Although it was a strand of spiritual power that entered the mother stream of rules, in fact, this strand of spiritual power still had a close connection with the physical body, so it could continuously draw power from the physical body. He didn't know how long he had been wandering. Qin Shujian didn't see the river surface. With my swimming speed, even if the resistance of the mother stream of rules is great, after such a long time, I'm afraid I've swam the distance of 2 or 3 prefectures. But even so, I still can't see the river surface. The mother stream of rules, it's a bit too vast. Qin Shujian's face turned black. He didn't even know where he was right now. As for the connection with the rules of power, it had reached an extremely weak level. If it wasn't for the fact that he was still in the mother stream of rules, he almost lost his connection with the rules of power. This also explained it indirectly. Qin Shujian was now very far away from where the rules of power were. At this moment, he also stopped swimming. Instead, he observed the changes in his surroundings. Speaking of which, after entering the mother stream of rules for so long, I don't think I've encountered any cultivator's spiritual power. But then again, the mother stream of rules is so vast. There are only a few powerhouses who can enter here. With so many people in the mother stream of rules, it's no different from a drop in the ocean. Qin Shujian looked at the mother stream of rules flowing around him and then retreated from it. He had to retreat. If he really wanted to find where the rules of power were from his current position, it would take too much time. It was better to retreat and then re-enter. Anyway, it was compatible with the rules of power. Every time he entered, he wouldn't be too far away from the rules of power. The next moment, Qin Shujian, who had his eyes closed in the courtyard, suddenly opened his eyes. Senior, how long has it been? For days. Qin Shujian nodded. For days didn't pass by that long. It was just that in the mother stream of rules, it was difficult to sense the passage of time, so Qin Shujian didn't have much sense of it. Very soon, he closed his eyes again, separated a strand of spiritual power, and entered the mother stream of rules. This time, as soon as he entered the mother stream of rules, Qin Shujian noticed the existence of the rules of power. This connection was very strong. It was as if the mother stream of rules was not far away from him. Sure enough, it's better to retreat and then enter again. Qin Shujian smiled and then swam towards the rules of power. But not long after, he stopped. The river in front of him was surging, and a familiar and powerful aura appeared not far away. A familiar aura? Could it be that it's a powerhouse I know, a human or a foreign race? Qin Shujian's expression was uncertain. He didn't expect his luck to be so bad. The mother stream of rules was so big, and he still encountered a cultivator who entered here. Qin Shujian was certain. He noticed the other party's presence, and the other party must have noticed him too. However, the two of them were very far apart. With the mother stream of rules blocking, he couldn't sense much information. At this moment, the aura paused for a moment, then rushed over here. Such confidence. Qin Shujian's expression was slightly cold. The other party had just rushed over so brazenly. It was obvious that he was very confident in his own strength. To this, Qin Shujian wouldn't show any weakness. Bang! The mother stream of rules surged, and the spiritual power incarnation suddenly pushed aside the river and rushed forward. Half an hour later, the auras of both parties were getting closer and closer. Immediately after, a familiar figure appeared in front of Qin Shujian. Ancient Buddha Emperor. Seeing the stone man in front of him, Qin Shujian raised his eyebrows. In fact, when he approached earlier, he had already guessed the identity of the person who came. After all, this was near the rules of power. To be able to appear here, there was a high probability that they were powerhouses who had comprehended the rules of power. Therefore, it wasn't that Qin Shujian didn't think that it might be the ancient Buddha Emperor. But now it seemed that the person who came was indeed the ancient Buddha Emperor. On the other side, the ancient Buddha Emperor also saw Qin Shujian's presence, and he looked surprised. Qin Shujian of the human race. Among the human race, there were two people who left a deep impression on him. One was the human emperor. The other was Qin Shujian. The former caused him to be seriously injured. As for the latter, although they hadn't fought, the title of the second strongest person of the human race, and his dazzling performance on the battlefield were unforgettable for the ancient Buddha Emperor. Very soon, the ancient Buddha Emperor thought of the mysterious powerhouse who had fought with him in the long river of rules. Suddenly, there was a burst of light in his eyes. It's you. It turns out that the mysterious powerhouse who appeared in the long river of rules is you. If it was during normal times, the ancient Buddha Emperor wouldn't dare to be so sure. But at this moment, in the mother stream of rules, that aura that he couldn't forget was already compatible with Qin Shujian. Qin Shujian looked at the ancient Buddha Emperor and said with a faint smile, "Ancient Buddha Emperor, you're not recuperating in the ancient Buddha's secret realm. Why are you wandering in the mother stream of rules? Could it be that your injuries have healed?" He was ridiculed. The ancient Buddha Emperor wasn't angry, and the shock on his face disappeared, and he became calm. Lord Qin is the same. What surprised Ben Huang is that you are compatible with the power law. Last time in the long river of rules, the one who triggered Ben Huang's power imprint should be you. It's me, Qin Shujian admitted frankly. If he hadn't really entered the power law, he would never have met the ancient Buddha Emperor. But now, Qin Shujian, on the other hand, was not afraid at all. The ancient Buddha emperor was strong, but he wasn't weak either. For such a top expert, Qin Shujian had always wanted to fight. Moreover, the ancient Buddha emperor was injured, and it wouldn't be easy for him to recover so quickly. In this way, the ancient Buddha emperor's spirit power was definitely not at its peak. In this situation, Qin Shujian had no reason to be afraid. The ancient Buddha emperor said, "Any law can only have one Tao. Ben Huang has been on this path for tens of thousands of years. Why do you want to compete with me for the power law? With your talent, you can choose another path, and you will have more hope of becoming an immortal." Why didn't the ancient Buddha emperor change to another path and give me the power law path? Qin Shujian said calmly. Change the path. That would be a joke. He had already reached this level. Who would change the path? Moreover, if he changed the path because of the ancient Buddha emperor's threat, it would be impossible to go far in the other long river of rules in the future. Cowardly people. How could they be qualified to control the rules? So, there was no possibility of agreeing to the ancient Buddha emperor's words. Hearing this, the ancient Buddha emperor seemed to have expected this. He looked at Qin Shujian and said regretfully, "Ben Huang really doesn't want to fight with you, but the battle of the rules is the battle of Tao. There is no way to avoid it. Since that's the case, I'll have to kill you first to protect my path." What a coincidence. It just so happens that I also want to experience just how strong the ancient Buddha clan's sovereign is. If I can destroy this wisp of your divine sense, then your injuries should worsen a bit. Qin Shujian looked calm, but there was coldness in his eyes. Suddenly, the scene became solemn. Although the mother stream of rules was flowing, but the murderous aura had already filled the air. The ancient Buddha emperor and Qin Shujian were 100 feet apart. Neither of them made the first move, as if they were waiting for an opportunity. No one knew how long had passed. The two of them suddenly moved. Boom! The mother stream of rules rippled, and the two terrifying bodies collided with each other. There weren't any fancy moves. There were no divine weapons to help. The battle between the two was the purest collision of physical bodies. Every punch, every kick, they were all exerting their ultimate strength. When it came to physical bodies, Qin Shujian cultivated the star manifestation body, which focused on opening 129,600 acupoints. Naturally, the strength of his physical body was terrifying, and the ancient Buddha emperor was a stone man incarnation. The strength of his physical body was also extremely tyrannical. Although in the mother stream of rules, the two did not enter with their real bodies, and only their spirit incarnations were fighting. But as the comprehenders of the rules of strength, in fact, the path that they took was the same. Therefore, the battle between the two. It was more like they met their match. The battle had just started, and it had already reached its peak. Boom, boom, boom. The terrifying power, with the two as the center, spread in all directions. Compared to the vast mother stream of rules, the range of the aftermath could only be said to be insignificant. Not to mention other things. Even the aftermath power, when it came into contact with the other long rivers of rules, was quietly annihilated. Boom! After taking the ancient Buddha emperor's punch head-on, Qin Shujian's body was torn apart, and he threw out a punch of his own. Instantly, the ancient Buddha emperor was also forced to retreat, because he did not enter with his real body. Therefore, the seemingly collapsing physical bodies of the two were actually exhausting the power of their divine thoughts. And the moment these powers were exhausted, they were immediately replenished from the physical body outside. As long as the divine thoughts were not exhausted, the two of them had no possibility of stopping the battle. Because of this battle, it was considered the first battle of the rules. It was a collision of the paths that they took. If they lost this time, it was not to say that they would withdraw from the rules of strength, but at least when they met the other party in the future, their chances of winning would be reduced by 1 point. 1 point was not a lot of chances of winning, but sometimes 1 point was the difference between success and failure. P.S. I recommend a book, Picking Up a Husky. Chapter 6:10. Boom, boom. The battle between the two was still ongoing. As the emperor of the ancient Buddha clan, The ancient Buddha Emperor's strength had reached the level of a top omnipotent. According to Qin Shujian's estimation, even if the ancient Buddha Emperor's combat strength was not as good as the Demon Emperor, it was similar to the Divine Emperor. In other words, the other party's combat strength should be above 35,000. His combat power, on the other hand, was 34,100. Seriously speaking, there was a gap between the two, but it was definitely not big. And now they were in the mother stream of laws. Without entering the mother stream of laws, no one could borrow the power of laws. As a result, the battle was between the cultivators themselves. It's said that you're the second strongest person of the human clan and your strength is comparable to the emperor of a clan. Now it seems that I've underestimated you. After destroying Qin Shujian's body, the ancient Buddha Emperor did not relax at all. The other party's strength. It made him feel a lot of pressure. Although the ancient Buddha Emperor knew that Qin Shujian had killed Qiju Emperor with one slash. However, when the other party killed Qiju Emperor, he used the 8-seal Dao artifact and borrowed the power of Zhu Bing. It was unexpected. It was not hard to accept that Qiju Emperor was killed. So, even after knowing about this matter, the ancient Buddha Emperor did not think that Qin Shujian would be his opponent. In the mother stream of laws, he could not borrow the power of any divine weapon. The real confrontation was his own strength. But now, the ancient Buddha Emperor had overturned his thoughts. Qin Shujian's strength was very strong. Although there was a gap between them, the gap was not so big that it could not be made up for. From this, it could be seen. The other party's strength had already stepped into the Nirvana realm. If it was in the outside world, Qin Shujian had Zhu Bing's help and the 8-seal Dao artifact in hand. He might not be able to defeat the other party. Thinking of this, the ancient Buddha Emperor's heart sank. Originally, the human emperor of the human clan was enough of a headache. Now there was another Qin Shujian, and Qin Shujian's strength had reached the level of a top omnipotent. Once this news spread, the human race could become the number one force among all the races in the 4 great continents. This was not a joke, although there were very few human mighty figures. However, what truly determined the strength and status of a race was not the number of powerful beings, but the most powerful beings who were above the powerful beings. Why were the demons so strong? Why were the gods so strong? Why were these races able to run amok in a continent? There was almost no power that could fight against them alone. As for the reason, that was because the demon emperor and godly emperor's battle prowess was exceedingly high. Relying on themselves, it was enough to suppress a race and a continent. The strength of the human sovereign realm was already ridiculously strong. Now, with the addition of Qin Shujian, the strength of the human clan was even stronger. However, what the ancient Buddha Emperor really cared about was not how strong the human race was, but how strong Qin Shujian was. The stronger the opponent was, in the future, it would be even more troublesome to fight for the power of the precepts. At this moment, the ancient Buddha Emperor was already regretting his decision. He regretted not killing Qin Shujian the first time he met him. At that time, Qin Shujian was strong, but it was definitely not at this level. Or else, at the beginning, he would not be suppressed by the high priest of the god race. Boom, boom. The two fought fiercely. Qin Shujian laughed arrogantly. The ancient Buddha Emperor's strength is only SOSO. If you can only exert this level, I think you are not qualified enough to make me give up the strength rule. As long as I am here, you will not have the chance to achieve the Dao. If you are willing to change your Dao, I may let you go. If you insist on following the strength rule, you are digging your own grave. As he spoke, his attacks did not stop. Qin Shujian was now basically certain that the ancient Buddha Emperor's combat strength was at most about 37,000 to 38,000. This gap was not big. After all, both of them were now in units of 10,000. 3 to 4,000 combat strength was still a range that could be compensated. If it was in the case of thousands of units, then a difference of 3 to 4,000 combat strength was almost double the difference. If they met, they could only wait for death. However, in the outside world, the ancient Buddha Emperor could still borrow the strength rule, and the other party's comprehension of the rule was much deeper than his. In this way, this gap in combat strength would be widened by a lot. If I rely on Zubing, I don't know if I can shorten this gap. But with my current strength, after one slash, I don't have much vital essence left. I may not be able to defeat the ancient Buddha Emperor, but if I use the heaven list together, the probability is still very high. While fighting, Qin Shujian secretly calculated the gap in strength between the two sides. After getting the result, he suddenly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. There was a gap, but the gap was not big. In other words, if he really met the ancient Buddha Emperor, the other party could not do anything to him. On the contrary, if the ancient Buddha Emperor did not pay attention, he might be killed by him. He had a plan in mind. Qin Shujian was more confident. Facing the ancient Buddha Emperor, he was even more unbridled and mocking. However, the ancient Buddha Emperor was the emperor of the ancient Buddha clan. He had been famous for no less than 10,000 years. How could he be angry over such a small matter? No matter how Qin Shujian mocked him, his face was as calm as ever. Your strength is indeed not bad, but Ben Huang comprehended the rules of strength 10,000 years earlier than you. You will have a chance to stop me. You are destined to lose this battle. After 10,000 years, you still haven't mastered the rules of strength. You are indeed trash. If it were me, I would be embarrassed to say this. I didn't expect that I would feel proud of you. Qin Shujian sneered and mocked him mercilessly. Do you know how long I have comprehended the rules of strength? It hasn't even been a year. What face do you have to compete with me? Impossible. The ancient Buddha Emperor's face changed, and he shouted in a deep voice. 1 year's time. It was absolutely impossible to comprehend the rules of strength to the extent of triggering his imprint. After hearing this sentence, the ancient Buddha Emperor's first reaction was that Qin Shujian was fooling him. Hearing this, Qin Shujian sneered and said, "You really don't know whether it is possible or not, or you can't see my age. To be honest, if you give me 10,000 years, I would have become a true immortal. Maybe I would have reached the end of the 9th level of immortal. In the end, you spent 10,000 years and didn't even reach the immortal realm. You didn't even touch the threshold of Tao. It really disappointed me. Originally, I thought of you as an opponent, but now it seems that I thought too much. A trash like you doesn't have the qualifications to be my opponent. Ancient Buddha Emperor, if I were you, I would obediently withdraw from the rules of strength now, so as not to let these rules of strength be tarnished, or even close the ancient Buddha's secret realm. If I don't become an immortal, I would be embarrassed to come out." Every word Qin Shujian said was like a knife, stabbing the ancient Buddha Emperor's heart. If it was something else, it was not enough to shake the Emperor's mind. But Qin Shujian's achievements in the rules of strength made the ancient Buddha Emperor feel crushed. At the same time, he also felt a huge threat. If Qin Shujian was not wrong, then with the other party's talent, wouldn't it not take long for him to surpass him and touch the threshold of Tao first? It was really like this. No matter what, the ancient Buddha Emperor could not accept this fact. His mind was distracted. The ancient Buddha Emperor's attack also showed a slight flaw. Suddenly, Qin Shujian found the opportunity to take a few punches in succession, causing his physical body to explode 3 or 4 times. Soon, the ancient Buddha Emperor reacted. "Ben Huang, seeing that you have already turned into a demon, why don't you come to my ancient Buddha's secret realm to cultivate for a period of time and purify the demon in your heart?" After saying this, he had already brazenly counterattacked. His mind calmed down again. But in the ancient Buddha Emperor's heart, there was already a great desire to kill Qin Shujian. Such a threat. He had to find a chance to eradicate it. Seeing this, Qin Shujian felt a sense of regret. He still wanted to take advantage of the ancient Buddha Emperor's chaotic state of mind to kill the other party in one blow. From the battle until now, everyone had consumed a lot of energy. In this case, if the ancient Buddha Emperor's divine consciousness was killed, it would definitely cause the other party to be severely injured. Combined with the previous injuries, the ancient Buddha Emperor would need to cultivate for at least a few months. It was also at this time, the ancient Buddha Emperor's face suddenly changed, and he did not know why, but he stopped his attack. Seeing this opportunity, Qin Shujian did not have time to think too much and immediately launched an attack. Boom! Boom! Terrifying power poured out, and the ancient Buddha Emperor fell into a passive situation. The mother stream of rules surged. Vast aftershocks spread out. Every punch caused his body to shatter. But the power that was constantly gathering from afar repaired the collapsed physical body at an extremely fast speed. The storm-like attacks. The ancient Buddha Emperor directly fell into a state of confusion. Qin Shujian, Bin Huang will remember you, and I will definitely kill you in the future. In the end, the ancient Buddha Emperor did not fight back. He just looked at him coldly, and his body collapsed on its own. At the same time, the fist fell, but Qin Shujian hit empty air. He ran away? Looking at the ancient Buddha Emperor who retreated on his own, his face was also shocked. Qin Shujian did not expect this. The ancient Buddha Emperor would run away at this time. Could it be that he knows that he can't beat me, so he simply ran away shamelessly? In Qin Shujian's mind, there was a sudden thought. But very soon, he banished this unrealistic conjecture from his mind. The idea was quite good, but the reality was often cruel. After fighting for so long, to be honest, Qin Shujian still knew that he was at a disadvantage. Otherwise, he would not use words to disturb the ancient Buddha Emperor and then take this opportunity to pull back some of the disadvantages. In this situation, the ancient Buddha Emperor had no possibility of escaping. Very soon, Qin Shujian thought of something. Could it be that something happened in the ancient Buddha's secret realm that forced the ancient Buddha Emperor to run away? This was possible. This was the only explanation. But what Qin Shujian did not understand was which clan attacked the ancient Buddha's secret realm and forced the ancient Buddha Emperor to retreat. One had to know. Although the ancient Buddha clan was not as powerful as the monster clan, the divine clan, and other top clans, it was not much worse. Looking at the current situation of the human clan walking out of the eastern continent, other forces that had the confidence to provoke the ancient Buddha clan would not choose to do so at this time. Suddenly, Qin Shujian stood in the mother stream of the rule and fell into deep thought. Not long after, he also retreated from here. In the courtyard, Qin Shujian opened his eyes, and an unprecedented weakness welled up in his heart. When he looked inside his body again, out of the 13,200 star acupoints, more than half of them had already dimmed. This was a sign of energy consumption. Kid, what happened to you inside? Why is your energy consumption so serious? Sensing Qin Shujian's return, Godslayer asked with concern. He had to be concerned. In his opinion, the other party was the only hope for the human clan. As the Zhu Bing of the human clan, he still had to show some concern and greeting to this hope. Let Qin Shujian feel, well, as warm as the spring breeze. Facing Godslayer's question, Qin Shujian did not answer immediately, but asked back, how long did it take for me to enter the mother stream of the rule to come out? It's been 10 days. 10 days. Qin Shujian's expression changed slightly. It had been 10 days. In other words, he and the ancient Buddha Emperor had been fighting in the mother stream of the rule for 10 whole days. No wonder his energy consumption was so high. It was just that in the mother stream of the rule, he could not feel the passage of time at all. No wonder his energy consumption had reached such a serious point. If the ancient Buddha Emperor did not escape, if he delayed for another 10 days to half a month, he would be the first to be unable to hold on and lose. Soon, Qin Shujian realized another thing. That was, he had been in the mother stream of the rule for half a month. If that was the case, the sect grand competition seemed to have begun. No, it was about to end. Qin Shujian spread out his spiritual sense and found that there were indeed many more disciples in the main sect. The martial arts practice field was also divided into different areas where disciples were competing in pairs. So it's not over yet. Qin Shujian was slightly surprised. But after thinking about it, it made sense. The higher one's cultivation was, the more time it would take to finish a battle. Hundreds of disciples fighting. Even if one battle only took 1 or 2 hours, and considering that the area was divided into 4 areas. But if one really calculated, it would take many days for the competition to be completed. Not to mention, there was still the process of advancing and repeating the competition. In this way, things could be explained. Qin Shujian said, how many days has it been since the sect grand competition started? He was asking about Godslayer. Although the other party stayed in his sea of consciousness, it was almost impossible for Yuan Zhong to hide this matter from Zhu Bing. It's been 2 days, a group of true spiritual martial artists fighting there. It's quite boring. Godslayer said unhappily. In his opinion, such a competition was useless. True spiritual martial artists. He could crush thousands or tens of thousands of such small cultivators with a single hand. So what if they won first place? They would still be ants. Godslayer said, in my opinion, there's no need for you to set up this sect grand competition. Any cultivator who hasn't reached the celestial being realm has no value in nurturing. It's better to let them cultivate on their own. When they break through to the celestial being realm, then nurture them and pick a few suitable seedlings. Otherwise, you can focus on nurturing those with average talent and above. As for those who are not even average, you can give up. Senior, times have changed, Qin Shujian said with a heavy heart. The ancient times have already passed. It's been millions of years since then. Celestial beings were common in the ancient times, but now the human race is weak and celestial beings are the top. These cultivators that you don't care about are the backbone of the human race. Each of these cultivators may become the pillars of the human race in the future. How can you give them up so easily? Moreover, the spiritual qi in the ancient times was rich. The human race was born as a true martial artist. Now that the spiritual qi is scarce, the human race is just an ordinary person. They only start cultivating from the basic martial artist and then the true martial artist. It's already not easy for them to reach this stage at this age. Even if they can't become celestial beings in the future, it's not bad if they can break through to the divine martial realm. Moreover, as you said, talent doesn't decide everything. Even if these people don't even have average talent, it doesn't mean they don't have a chance to break through to the celestial being realm. Even if the probability is small, it's still there. When these people break through to the celestial being realm, their talent will also change. Talent is a congenital factor that determines a cultivator, but what really determines how far a cultivator can go is still the cultivator himself. It's not like there aren't people who can change their talent with the power of heaven in the future. Qin Shujian realized. Godslayer often lived in the dream of the ancient times. As the new inheritor of this ancestral armament, he was the new inheritor of this ancestral armament. He had the obligation to wake the other party up. The ancient times were dead. What was the use of staying here and reminiscing about the glory of the past? Could reminiscing about the ancient times make the human race stronger? It couldn't. Remembering the glory of the past could spur the human race to move forward. But being completely immersed in the glory of the past would only make people lose the motivation to move forward. Although Zhu Bing didn't seem to have anything to move forward, but something still had to be said. After 1,000,000 years, he was educated for the first time. Godslayer was also silent for a long time. After a while, he sighed and said, "You're right. Talent can't decide everything, but I still say the same thing. If you don't become a celestial being, you can't change anything." I naturally know this. In fact, the sect competition is not only to test their cultivation progress, but also to pick out a few suitable seedlings and focus on nurturing them. Qin Shujian shook his head slightly. How could he not know what the god-slaying saber meant? But how could a celestial being be achieved? The human race was so big. At most, there were only a few celestial beings. In the past, there were hundreds of millions of cultivators in the cultivation world, but there were only a dozen celestial beings. Such a probability was really too low. Of course, there were sects that controlled the god-connecting cultivation methods, causing many people to have no way forward. But it couldn't be denied that it was difficult to break through to the celestial being realm. As for letting these people break through to the celestial being realm on their own, they would focus on nurturing them in the future. Qin Shujian was worried that he might not be able to see it until the day he died. Although he was having a good time scolding Godslayer earlier. But regarding the talent of these disciples, Qin Shujian was also worried. Immediately after, Godslayer didn't say much on this topic and directly asked, "You still haven't told me what happened after you entered the mother stream for so long." "I met the ancient Buddha emperor." Qin Shujian didn't hide it. Godslayer was surprised. The ancient Buddha emperor. You two fought? If we didn't fight, why would I not come out for so long? He also walked the law of strength, and I also walked the law of strength. It's inevitable that we would meet and fight. You won. Of course. If I didn't win, how could I be in my current state? Qin Shujian smiled proudly. In his thoughts, see, Godslayer coldly replied, with your strength, you shouldn't be a match for the ancient Buddha Emperor. How did you win? Senior doesn't trust me that much? Qin Shujian's expression was dark. What did he mean? You didn't even see it, and you dare to conclude that I'm not a match for him? The god's slaughtering saber said indifferently, do not doubt the insight of an ancestral armament. I have existed for countless years. The amount of things I know is much more than you can imagine. Although you've reached the Nirvana realm, the ancient Buddha Emperor has obviously gone further in the Nirvana realm. Although his strength hasn't touched the threshold of immortal ascension, it's almost there. With your strength, without Zhu Bing, it's difficult to win against the ancient Buddha Emperor. Qin Shujian really wanted to prove to Godslayer that he could beat the ancient Buddha Emperor, but he only thought about it. He gave up on the idea. Yes. Without Godslayer, he really wasn't a match for the ancient Buddha Emperor. We haven't fought to the end, and I'm not sure if I'm a match for the ancient Buddha Emperor. Qin Shujian didn't admit too much. Instead, he sneered. But it's true that the ancient Buddha Emperor escaped. Something must have happened in the ancient Buddha secret realm, so he suddenly escaped. If there's a chance, think of a way to kill the ancient Buddha Emperor. Otherwise, he'll be an obstacle to your path of enlightenment. Senior, what do you mean? The ancient Buddha Emperor's comprehension of the rules of strength is above yours. If you want to surpass him in the rules of strength, you'll definitely encounter his obstruction. If it's a competition of rules of strength, you're not necessarily a match for him. But in reality, you have Zhu Bing, so you have a chance to kill him. Godslayer explained, and I'm basically sure that as long as you kill the ancient Buddha Emperor, there shouldn't be any obstacles to your path of enlightenment in the future. Because the ancient Buddha Emperor also walks the path of the rules of strength. With his strength, if he notices that someone is snatching his path, he'll definitely eliminate the threat. There shouldn't be anyone in the 3 major continents who can stop him. If there are people who walk the rules of strength and haven't been killed, then there's a high probability that they won't be a threat. It can be said that the ancient Buddha Emperor has already cleared the path for you. You just need to get rid of the ancient Buddha Emperor, and there won't be any obstacles to your path of enlightenment. And the ancient Buddha Emperor knows of your existence and will definitely find a chance to kill you. He's your obstacle, and you're his obstacle. Even if you don't kill him, he'll find trouble with you sooner or later. In the end, Godslayer added one more sentence. But he didn't emphasize it too much, because Godslayer knew Qin Shujian's character. He was the kind of person who was ruthless and merciless. After understanding the threat of the ancient Buddha Emperor, even if he didn't say anything, he might find a way to kill the other party. For such a person, the God-slaying saber was someone he admired. In this era, the human race didn't need a powerhouse who cared about the world. What they needed was someone like Qin Shujian, ruthless and merciless executioners who showed no mercy to other races. Only by killing the other races would they be afraid. Killing until they didn't dare to have any thoughts. Only then could they really help the human race open up a place for survival. Qin Shujian nodded and said, Senior, don't worry. Next time, if there's a chance, I'll kill the ancient Buddha Emperor. He didn't say anything about winning or losing in the rules. There was no need for that. As long as he killed the ancient Buddha Emperor in reality, everything would save time and effort. There was no need to compete in the rules. If there was someone who wanted to snatch the path from him, that was the same. He'd just kill him. If he couldn't win in the rules, then he'd take action in reality. With Zhu Bing in hand. With his own strength, Qin Shujian felt that other than the Demon Emperor and a few other powerhouses, he should be able to kill the other powerhouses. So even if Godslayer didn't say anything, Qin Shujian was determined to kill the ancient Buddha Emperor. After the conversation, Qin Shujian got up and walked outside. At this time, he also didn't have the intention to re-enter the mother stream. There was no other reason. The consumption was too great. During this time, Qin Shujian needed to rest and recuperate. When he was fully recovered, it would be the time to enter again. This time, he encountered the ancient Buddha emperor. It also made Qin Shujian understand that in the mother stream, even if he didn't trespass into other rivers of laws, he might not be 100% safe. Because in the mother stream, there was also the possibility of encountering other cultivators. Although the probability was very small, it was still possible. Now that the sect's grand competition was in progress, Qin Shujian could go and take a look. In the martial arts practice field, the huge field was divided into 4 rings. 1 ring was for the basic realm, 1 ring was for the real martial realm, 2 rings were for the spirit martial realm. The reason for this division was because the cultivators of the spirit martial realm fought for a longer time, and there were quite a number of people, so they simply used 2 rings. As for the god martial realm, there was no ginseng competition at all. After all, the sect's grand competition came and went, and there were only a few guest elders. There wasn't a single extra disciple, so the competition was meaningless. But these elders didn't compete. But they all came to observe, and in their hearts, they also had the idea of choosing a few suitable disciples. That disciple is Ningbo, the first on the martial arts list. His strength is really not bad, and his foundation is also very solid. Although his talent is average, in my opinion, his future achievements will not be low. Xiang Haogan said with a smile. Beside him was Gong Mingze, who had a strange expression on his face. He really wanted to say, Ningbo should have been his disciple, but he was intercepted by Qin Shujian midway. But Gong Mingze only thought about it in his heart and did not dare to say it out loud. Who knew if these words would reach Qin Shujian's ears? For that level of expert, Gong Mingze still had a lot of vigilance. So, Gong Mingze's words had already turned into another way of saying, of course, Ningbo was brought to the sect by me in the past. At that time, I had already seen that he was extraordinary. Although the Heaven List's talent is average, cultivators are not bound by talent. With his strong foundation, his future achievements will definitely not be low. So this person was brought here by Elder Gong. Xiang Haogan's face was full of surprise. He had heard about Ningbo. After all, when he entered the sect, there was a rumor that Qin Shujian wanted to take him as a disciple. Some news. And it also reached Xiang Haogan's ears. But it was the first time he heard about Gong Mingze's relationship with him. At this moment, the other elders were also chatting with their close friends, and gave a certain evaluation of the many disciples below. Those who were qualified to sit on the judge's table. They were at least experts at the peak of the spiritual martial force. Those who were below this level were not qualified to sit there, because among the disciples below, there were many in the spiritual martial force. If they did not have the strength to suppress the disciples, how could they be qualified to be judges? Suddenly, a person flew in the air. Immediately, all the elders on the judge's table stood up at the same time, and immediately bowed and said, "Welcome, sect leader. Rise." "Thank you, sect leader," all the elders said in unison. Zheng Fong, who was sitting on the main seat, had already left his seat and said, "Sect leader is here. Please take a seat." Okay. Qin Shujian did not decline and directly sat down on the main seat. As for Zheng Fong, he sat next to Qin Shujian. When the two sat down, only then did the other elders who were still standing return to their seats. Zheng Fong said, "Sect leader, how come you have time to come today? As the sect leader, how can I not come to the sect disciple competition? Just let me see how much progress these disciples have made over the years." Qin Shujian said with a faint smile. Hearing that, Zheng Fong was relieved. When Qin Shujian arrived, most of the disciples who were watching the competition focused their attention on him. Even the disciples who were competing seemed to be a bit more aggressive, wanting to show off in front of the sect leader. It could be said that, with the appearance of Qin Shujian, even if he did not say anything, the atmosphere was stirred up. North Continent. In the territory of the ancient Buddha clan, the crimson cloud covered the sky of the ancient Buddha clan's territory within 100,000 miles. The entire ancient Buddha clan's territory was in a state of massacre. Even, the crimson cloud seeped into the ancient Buddha's secret realm. Boundless slaughter. It was happening all the time. In the face of such an attack, the experts of the ancient Buddha clan also took action. However, in the crimson cloud, there were also a few experts who appeared. Each of their strength had reached the almighty level, and they were fighting fiercely with the experts of the ancient Buddha clan. I said I would be back. You can't escape. The evil voice in his ear made Shi Jing's face turn ugly. He could tell that it was Si Hanhai's voice. The other party had attacked the ancient Buddha clan previously. He had fought with Si Hanhai and was trapped in the Crimson Cloud. If it were not for the ancient Buddha emperor, he might have been defeated and killed. Shi Jing originally thought that Si Hanhai would not dare to attack the ancient Buddha clan for a while after being scared away by the ancient Buddha emperor. In the end, only a few months had passed. Si Hanhai came to the ancient Buddha clan to cause trouble again. Compared to the previous time, Si Hanhai's strength had become even more terrifying. Not only that, Si Hanhai had used some unknown method to subdue a few almighty experts and brought them to attack the ancient Buddha clan. Kill. Shi Jing did not dare to hesitate and immediately attacked Si Hanhai. Whatever he said now was fake. Only by killing Si Hanhai could he resolve the crisis in front of him. Just as Shi Jing attacked, another ancient Buddha almighty also attacked at the same time. The two almighty experts attacked from the front and back. Si Hanhai was instantly in danger. Are you bullying me with numbers? The ancient Buddha clan is such a hypocrite, Si Hanhai said with a smile that was neither a smile nor a cry. Just as he finished speaking, a terrifying attack had already bombarded. Boom! The void shattered. Si Hanhai's body suddenly exploded and turned into a bloody mist that scattered all over the sky. He's dead? Shi Jing's face was solemn. Although Si Hanhai did not even have a corpse left, he did not dare to let his guard down. After all, this person was too strange. What if he had a backup plan? It was something that could happen. Just then, the bloody mist fell and quietly attached to their bodies. Not good. Shi Jing's face changed drastically. Without thinking, he activated his true origin to resist. Then, just as his true origin emerged, it was immediately eroded by the bloody mist. In just a few breaths, Shi Jing felt an evil force corroding more than half of his physical body. Even the other ancient Buddha mighty figure was the same. Hee, the ancient Buddha clan is miserable. Why don't you merge with me? Don't resist. It's useless. Hee. A cold and evil voice appeared out of nowhere and directly appeared in their minds. At the same time, the murderous intent that was hidden in their hearts was also triggered by the voice. Suddenly, Shi Jing and the other ancient Buddha almighty's eyes turned red. But very soon, the red disappeared and their eyes regained their original color. However, not long after, it was taken over by the red color again. From afar, Shi Jing and the other ancient Buddha almighty stood still in the void. No one knew what they were doing, but only they knew how dangerous their situation was. Half an hour passed. Shi Jing and the other ancient Buddha almighty finally could not take it anymore. The divine light in their eyes gradually disappeared. Their originally petrified skin. Now, it was completely soaked in blood. Then, as if it was weathered, it drifted in the void. Rumble. Two almighties fell, and the ancient Buddha secret realm shook. In the ancient Buddha hall, a shocking aura burst out. The surging anger made the entire ancient Buddha secret realm tremble. Even the living beings in the ancient Buddha territory felt boundless pressure, waking them up instantly. You should die for messing with the ancient Buddha clan. A cold voice was heard. A palm shattered the void and directly pinched an almighty who was fighting with an ancient Buddha almighty. In the next second, the almighty exploded and his body and soul were destroyed. Then, a stone man stepped out from the ancient Buddha mystic realm and struck out with his palm again, shattering another almighty into pieces. His divine soul was destroyed as well. Ancient Buddha Emperor. Si Hanhai looked at the stone man and smiled evilly. Then, he tore open the void and escaped without looking back. The moment he escaped, the blood cloud dissipated. The remaining two almighties also fled, as if they had a tacit understanding. Trying to escape? Humph. The ancient Buddha Emperor was filled with killing intent. He took a step forward, and a terrifying power suppressed the void. The two almighties were imprisoned. Then, he slapped out and the two almighties died instantly. Next, The ancient Buddha Emperor tore open the void and chased after Si Han Hai. He let him escape last time. This time, he wanted to eliminate all future troubles. Half a day later, the ancient Buddha Emperor tore open the void and returned to the ancient Buddha secret realm with a gloomy face. After returning to the ancient Buddha secret realm, the ancient Buddha Emperor issued another order. As long as there were experts from all races who could kill Si Han Hai, the ancient Buddha secret realm would give 3 drops of Nirvana realm experts' blood essence. When this news came out, the 3 continents were shocked. P.S. Support the original Chidian Chinese networks. I am upright. Chapter 611. The Ancient Buddha Mystic Realm. The ancient Buddha Emperor was furious. If Si Han Hai hadn't escaped fast enough, he would have dismembered him at all costs. The last time the other party attacked the ancient Buddha clan, it wasn't easy to kill a mighty figure. How long had it been? A few months. Si Han Hai was already able to kill 2 mighty figures, and he had subdued 4 mighty figures through some unknown method. Such potential for improvement. The ancient Buddha Emperor was furious, but he was also a little shocked. If he was really so strong, in that case, in another year's time, would the other party not become a ruler? Give him another 2 or 3 years. Would he become a Nirvana realm powerhouse? Are all humans so monstrous? In ancient times, when the human race was at its peak, there weren't so many monsters, not to mention now that the human race is at its weakest. Could it be that the human race is really going to rise? The ancient Buddha Emperor muttered to himself. He thought of Qin Shujian in the Mother Stream. He also thought of the human emperor. He also thought of the current Si Han Hai. No, there was also Marquis Baiyun. After all, Marquis Baiyun's strength was also very strong. He was also a mighty figure, but he was able to fight against more than a dozen mighty figures and kill half of them. Such strength was also shocking. As for Si Han Hai, he had established himself as a demon and left the human race. But in the ancient Buddha Emperor's eyes, he was still a human and not a demon. He didn't know before, but after calculating, he was shocked. It turned out that unknowingly, the human race already had 4 monstrous powerhouses. The human emperor was still okay. Although the other party hid it very well, the ancient Buddha Emperor still felt the aura of old age from him. Yes, the human emperor was old. The other party was already old. If he couldn't break through, he wouldn't have many years to live. With the growth speed of the human race, to reach such terrifying strength at such an age, although it was a little shocking, it was still barely understandable. But the ancient Buddha Emperor didn't feel the slightest bit of old age from Qin Shujian and the other 2. And it seemed to be surging with vitality. They didn't seem old. Such powerhouses were even more threatening. All of a sudden, the ancient Buddha Emperor's mind shook, and pale golden blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth. In the main hall, many ancient Buddha powerhouses' expressions changed. Your Majesty, what happened? The ancient Buddha Emperor was injured. How did he get hurt? These ancient Buddhas instantly thought of Si Han Hai. The ancient Buddha Emperor had gone to chase after the other party and then returned. Only now did he vomit blood. Didn't that mean the ancient Buddha Emperor was actually injured by Si Han Hai? He thought of this possibility. The ancient Buddha clan expert's expression changed again. To be able to injure the ancient Buddha Emperor, Si Han Hai's strength was too terrifying. Such an expert. If they attacked the ancient Buddha mystic realm every day, no one would be able to endure it. He understood the concerns of these people. The ancient Buddha Emperor wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said faintly, "Don't worry, it's just that something happened in the Mother Stream. If it weren't for the fall of Shi Jing and the others, I wouldn't have forced myself out." During this period of time, the ancient Buddha clan's forces will be concentrated in the ancient Buddha secret territory. As for your main mission, it is to find Si Han Hai for Bin Huang. Even if you can't kill him, at least Bin Huang needs to know his whereabouts. This time, 2 elders have fallen in his hands. If we don't take revenge, the other forces will inevitably look down on our ancient Buddha clan. Originally, the ancient Buddha Emperor did not want to explain. But looking at the situation now, if he did not explain, the ancient Buddha clan's almighties would probably be scared out of their wits by Si Han Hai. Although the other party's methods were strange, when it came to strength, Sihanhai was still far from it. If the other party had not escaped fast enough, the ancient Buddha Emperor was confident that killing him would not be much harder than killing the other almighties. In front of the top immortals, ordinary almighties could not be killed with a wave of the hand, but they were close. After all, a combat power of tens of thousands, compared to a combat power of 30 to 40,000, the difference was huge. Yes, my emperor. The ancient Buddha clan experts bowed and accepted the order. After that, the ancient Buddha emperor waved his hand and dismissed these people. Wait, my emperor, is there anything else? Don't split up. Sihanhai's strength is a little unusual. You guys should work together to avoid being defeated one by one. Yes, only then did the ancient Buddha clan experts completely leave. On the Lotus platform, the ancient Buddha emperor felt helpless. Since when would the ancient Buddha clan be forced to such an extent by an almighty? If Bunhuang's injuries had not healed, what can an almighty do? The ancient Buddha emperor's killing intent surged. The last time he attacked, he was still in a severely injured state. That was why Sihanhai escaped. This time, he attacked. It was also under the premise of a huge loss. The Battle of the Rule Mother Stream. Qin Shujian had consumed a lot of energy. He had also consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, his divine telekinesis was also damaged. It could be said that the ancient Buddha emperor was not in his best condition when he attacked Sihanhai twice. Or else, he was confident that he could kill the other party. But now, the ancient Buddha emperor could not attack again. The injury that the human emperor gave him had not healed. Now, he was injured again by Qin Shujian. The two overlapped. It caused the ancient Buddha emperor to be seriously injured again. For now, let's recover from the injury first. We'll talk about other things later. Sihanhai is not a big problem. No matter how monstrous a figure was in the ancient times, no one could advance from the 7th level of the sky-human realm to the nirvana realm in just 1 or 2 years. His current increase in strength should be due to some secret technique. It will definitely not last long. After the anger, the ancient Buddha emperor calmed down. He looked at it twice. Although Sihanhai's strength had changed a lot, but there were rules in the world. How could anyone break the rules of the rules? No matter how strong Sihanhai was, cultivation also had to be done gradually. To reach the level of threatening an almighty in a short time, it was still far from enough. Therefore, the one that the ancient Buddha emperor was really afraid of was not Sihanhai, but Qin Shujian. He was destined to attain Tao through the rule of strength, and Qin Shujian also walked the rule of strength path. Sooner or later, both of them would have one, either when he attained Tao or when the other party attained Tao. With Qin Shujian's strength, furthermore, he had terrifying potential. The ancient Buddha emperor felt a huge threat. Qin Shujian was not Sihanhai. The other party's strength was even more terrifying. Even if it was a face-to-face battle, the ancient Buddha emperor was not 100% confident that he could take down the other party. After a long time, the ancient Buddha emperor abandoned the distracting thoughts in his mind and sat cross-legged on the lotus platform. He had already entered the stage of healing. On the other side, the ancient Buddha clan's arrest warrant had also spread across the 4 continents. Except for the East continent, there was no movement. Many clans in the other 3 continents were already shocked. The blood essence of a nirvana realm. For any expert, it was an irresistible temptation. Because the blood essence of such an expert, every drop could be called a treasure. Even if it was used to refine and swallow, it could also increase one's strength by a lot. Moreover, the effect of the blood essence was not only that. This time, the ancient Buddha clan had offered a reward of 3 drops of nirvana realm blood essence, which had already moved these forces. The blood essence of a nirvana realm. In the blood spirit secret realm, Zhu Yu's eyes burst with light. He had also received the news that Sihanhai had attacked the ancient Buddha clan. This was a very normal thing. In the North Continent, the Blood Eldar was still the most powerful clan on the surface. Even the ancient Buddha clan had to step back in front of them. During this period, many clans in the North Continent have been attacked by Sihanhai, and even a few almighties have died because of this. Moreover, we know that his strength is increasing by the moment. Although he has not attacked the Blood Eldar so far, it is undeniable that he is a malignant tumor in the North Continent. We still have to find a way to get rid of him. Blood Eldar Elder Zhongren said coldly. The Blood Eldar was a big clan in the North Continent. If the North Continent was in chaos, it would not be good for the Blood Eldar. Hearing this, immediately, a Blood Spirit Almighty said, although Si Han Hai has established the Demon Clan, I suspect that this is a trick of the Human Clan. They deliberately created a Demon Clan to attack us. Why don't we put pressure on the Human Clan and force them to hand Si Han Hai over? Or else, our clans will join forces and attack the Human Clan's territory again. His idea was simple. He would use the various clans to put pressure on the Human Clan and force them to abandon the Rook to protect the general. Zhu Yu glanced at him and said indifferently, we will discuss this matter in the future. There is no evidence to prove that the Human Clan has anything to do with Si Han Hai. Moreover, the clans that Si Han Hai is attacking now are the clans that attacked the Human Clan in the past. As for the other neutral clans, they have not harassed us so far. If we want to join forces to force the Human Clan to abdicate, we have to at least join forces stronger than the last time. Now that my emperor is in seclusion and preparing to break through to the true immortal realm, it is not appropriate for the Blood Eldar to stir up too much trouble in the short term. However, we can send people to fight for the reward of the ancient Buddha clan. After all, 3 drops of Nirvana Realm Blood Essence are treasures that cannot be ignored for us. Elder Zhu Yu is right. Zhongren nodded slightly. Not to mention the North Continent, the other major continents were now striving for stability. There was no need to talk about the middle and low-level clans. Those large clans that possessed Nirvana stage powerhouses all maintained their silence. This was because the laws of heaven and earth had been perfected. Nirvana realm powerhouses were destined to be unable to maintain their transcendent status for too long. Only by breaking through to the true immortal realm. They were the ones who truly determined the fate of a clan. Ordinary emperors were fine. Powerhouses who could reach the Nirvana realm were those who had taken a step above the 10th level of the celestial realm before the heaven and earth laws were perfected. They were existences who had truly reached the limits of heaven and earth. Such powerhouses. Every one of them had terrifying talent and potential. They also had great hopes of breaking through to the true immortal realm. Not to mention anything else. That was Bloodling Huang's plan now. And Zhongren was sure that the other powerhouses had the same plan. The current situation seemed to be much calmer. In fact, there were undercurrents surging. Whoever would be the first to break through to the true immortal realm would break the balance. Bloodling Huang was in seclusion now. The ones who were truly in charge of the overall situation were Zhu Yu and the other elders. After receiving the reward from the ancient Buddha Emperor, the Blood Spirit Clan had also sent some experts to search for Si Han Hai's whereabouts. Not only that, the Demon Clan, the God Clan, and other top clans also participated in the encirclement. The Human Clan's territory of 100,000 miles. East City. Inside the City Lord's mansion, Si Han Hai caused a huge commotion. His strength increased extremely quickly. In a short period of time, he killed so many mighty figures. Unfortunately, he left the Human Clan. After receiving the ancient Buddha clan's bounty, Dan Hao shook his head, his face full of regret. He was truly regretful. If Si Han Hai did not leave, the Human Clan would have another top powerhouse. However, the other party had left. Moreover, he had left the Human Clan and established himself as the Devil Clan. To be honest, Dan Hao was not too sure what the Devil Clan was. The only thing he knew was that Si Han Hai was no longer a powerhouse of the Human Clan. If he was allowed to continue developing, perhaps he would be like the God Clan, a great enemy of the Human Clan. This worry. Not only did Dan Hao have this thought, but even many human powerhouses had this thought. But until now, Si Han Hai had not attacked the Human Clan, nor had he hurt a human cultivator. So, although they were worried, they did not take any action. The East City Lord, who was sitting on the side, heard this and said calmly, "It's good that Si Han Hai left the Human Clan. At least what he did has nothing to do with the Human Clan. Now he has lost his mind. If he only attacked those hostile clans, it's nothing. But if he provoked the neutral clans, the pressure on the Human Clan will increase greatly. Now, Although many clans and forces have not been attacked, they are already afraid. Different from Dan Hao, the East City Lords saw more comprehensive things. Although Si Han Hai left the human clan, causing the human clan to lose a powerhouse. However, it also reduced a lot of pressure on the human clan. Now that Si Han Hai attacked the various clans, most of the forces were attracted to the other party. In a short period of time, the pressure on the human clan side was also greatly reduced. Now, the East City Lord only hoped that Si Han Hai could hold on a little longer and not be killed by the various clans so quickly. Or else, the effect would not be so great. In the East City Lord's view, if one Si Han Hai could exchange for a long period of peace for the human clan, it was also a good deal. Dan Hao looked at him coldly and said, "Why? Do you, Huajian, want to help kill Si Han Hai? It's not that I look down on you, but with your strength, if you leave the human clan's territory, it won't take Si Han Hai much effort to kill you." Brother Dan has a big prejudice against me. The East City Lord shook his head and laughed. Although Si Han Hai left the human clan, what he did was beneficial to the human clan. How could I, Huajian, do such a treacherous thing? But what Brother Dan needs to understand is that if Si Han Hai keeps going against those hostile clans, it's fine. But if he loses his mind and kills randomly, it will do more harm than good to the human clan. You have to know that the other party is from the human clan. Some relationships are not so easy to cut off. What does the human clan have to fear? Dan Hao snorted coldly. He was not worried about this at all. When had the human clan ever been afraid of battle? In his opinion, Huajian had been at ease for too long and did not have the hot blood of the Hua family's ancestors. He was different from Huajian. Dan Hao had fought for the great Zhao Empire and had never been afraid of battle. No matter how powerful the enemy was, he would still wave the long spear in his hand. It was because of this, the reason why Dan Hao could be the head of the 5 great generals. He was brave and good at fighting. That was it. Hearing this, the East City Lord also shook his head. He was too lazy to argue with the other party. In his opinion, Dan Hao was a hot-blooded brute who did not consider the gains and losses of a matter at all. If it was based on sacrificing many humans, then even if he killed happily, what was the use? Just as the two of them were talking, 300,000 miles away from the human clan's territory, a great battle was breaking out. On one side was a huge black crow, and on the other was a huge flood dragon. The two were fighting in the void. Their auras leaked out, shaking the void and shattering it. Black Crow Taoist, you really want to fight to the death with the demon clan. A piece of flesh was torn off the flood dragon's body by the black crow. The intense pain caused the dark flood dragon to roar angrily. He had never thought that he would meet Black Crow Taoist in this place. As early as when Black Crow Taoist helped the human clan to besiege Tianhong, the other party had already been wanted by the demon clan. In this situation, not only did Black Crow Taoist not escape, but he was hiding in the western province. Not only that, the other party dared to attack him. This was something that the Dark Flood Dragon did not expect. Black Crow Taoist heard this and sneered. Your demon clan destroyed my Black Crow clan, and we have long been fighting to the death. Last time, Tianhong was rescued by that old dog, the Demon Emperor. Today, I will kill you first and then deal with the other demon clans. I want to see if the Demon Emperor can still sit still. While talking, Black Crow Taoist had already attacked the Dark Flood Dragon until he was covered in wounds. This time, in order to find traces of Si Han Hai, the Demon Clan had also sent out many experts. The Dark Flood Dragon was one of them. Originally, the Dark Flood Dragon wanted to wander around the human clan's territory and see if he could meet Si Han Hai. After all, the other party was from the human clan. Perhaps, Si Han Hai would return to the human clan's territory. Therefore, the Dark Flood Dragon was waiting here. Unfortunately, Si Han Hai did not squat. Instead, he was squatted by Black Crow Taoist. In terms of strength, the Dark Flood Dragon was also a powerhouse at the 8th level of the Celestial Being Realm, but Black Crow Taoist was stronger. He had reached the peak of the 9th level of the Celestial Being Realm and was only one step away from the 10th level of the Celestial Being Realm. He was comparable to the Emperor of a clan. As a result, the Dark Flood Dragon was naturally at a disadvantage. No, not only was he at a disadvantage, but he was completely in a passive situation. The Dark Flood Dragon wanted to escape, but Black Crow Taoist's speed was strange and did not give him a chance to escape. Boom, boom. The void collapsed. The Black Crow scattered thousands of feathers, cutting the void into pieces. Although the scales on the Flood Dragon's body were hard, in front of the feathers, they were still shattered inch by inch. In an instant, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. The Dark Flood Dragon let out a shrill scream and then roared. I've already sent a message to the Demon Clan. It won't be long before powerhouses arrive. Black Crow Taoist, you're dead meat. The Flood Dragon's body was tyrannical. Although it seemed to have suffered serious injuries, they were all superficial wounds and did not hurt its foundation at all. According to the Dark Flood Dragon's estimation, it won't be long before the powerhouses of the Demon Clan arrive. Black Crow Taoist sneered and said, so what if the powerhouses of the Demon Clan come? How long do you think you can hold on? Today, I'm going to skin you and pull out your bones. It's just the right material for my divine weapon. As soon as he finished speaking, Black Crow suddenly shattered the void, and his attacks became even fiercer. The Dark Flood Dragon resisted. Half an hour later, Black Crow's pair of sharp claws firmly grasped the Flood Dragon's body. The dragon's body was broken, and blood spilled from the wound into the sky. Regardless of the Dark Flood Dragon's struggle, Black Crow firmly controlled the other party, and then his sharp beak pierced the Flood Dragon's head. The hard skull also cracked. Roar! Roar! The Dark Flood Dragon let out a miserable howl. Not long after, he was already dead. Seeing this, Black Crow Taoist immediately grabbed the Dark Flood Dragon's body and flew away. A few minutes later, 3 powerhouses of the Demon Clan arrived. Looking at the scattered blood corroding deep pits on the ground, and then looking at the power in the void that had not completely calmed down, everyone's face was gloomy to the extreme. The Dark Flood Dragon is dead? The person who attacked is Black Crow Taoist. The fluctuations here haven't calmed down yet. Black Crow Taoist can't escape far. Let's chase. This time, we must kill him. A few powerhouses of the Demon Clan communicated briefly and chased in the direction where the aura disappeared. The Dark Flood Dragon had fallen. This was a big deal, because the Flood Dragon clan was a top clan among the Demon Clan. It was rumored that the Demon Emperor was a powerhouse born from the Flood Dragon clan. It was only when his cultivation reached the peak that he shed his Flood Dragon body and turned into a real dragon body. But even so, the Demon Emperor was also considered a powerhouse of the Flood Dragon clan. As for the Dark Flood Dragon, he was also a genius of the Flood Dragon clan. In just a few thousand years, he had already reached the 8th level of the Celestial Being realm. In the future, he had a chance to advance to the Emperor realm. But such a genius. He was killed by Black Crow Taoist. If they did not kill him, when they returned to the Demon Clan, they would also have to bear the wrath of the Flood Dragon clan. Although, a powerhouse who could reach the level of a mighty figure, no matter how powerful the Flood Dragon clan was, it was impossible for them to really punish him. But there was no need to anger the Flood Dragon clan for this. 100,000 miles of the human clan's territory. A huge black crow holding the corpse of a flood dragon tore through the air and entered the human clan's territory in the blink of an eye. He sensed the fluctuation of the aura. The East City Lord took a step into the air and looked at Black Crow Taoist and the flood dragon under his claws. He frowned and asked, Your Excellency Black Crow, why did you suddenly barge into the human clan's territory? I'm here to complete the Yuan sect's mission. I've killed a mighty figure of the Demon Clan and want to go to the East City Yuan Pavilion. I hope that the East City Lord will let me through, Black Crow Taoist said in a deep voice. Behind him, a few powerhouses of the Demon Clan were approaching. Black Crow Taoist could feel it. The East City Lord could also sense it. He shifted his gaze away from Black Crow Taoist and looked behind him. The aura there was soaring into the sky. Immediately after, the East City Lord retracted his gaze and said faintly, Since you're here to complete the Yuan sect's mission, of course you can enter the East City. However, the East City is small and can't accommodate your real body. If you want to enter the East City, please withdraw your real body. In addition, this flood dragon, if you can, you'd better put it away. If you can't, please leave it outside the city for the time being. I can guarantee that no one will touch it. Thank you. Black Crow Taoist simply dropped the Flood Dragon's body and withdrew his Black Crow real body. He transformed into his original Taoist appearance and entered the East City. At the same time, the East City Lord looked forward and shouted coldly, "This is the human clan's territory. Trespassing will be regarded as a declaration of war. Come if you're not afraid of death." His voice was not loud, but it exploded in the void. A powerful aura rose from the East City Lord. It faintly merged with the East City and transformed into a huge Dharma form. Seeing this, the three powerhouses of the Demon Clan all stopped without warning. The leader of the Demon Clan shouted, "The Demon Clan has no intention of waging war with the Human Clan. This time, we're only here to kill the rebels. Please make it convenient for us." Non-human beings are not allowed to enter, the East City Lord said lightly. The monster race expert's face was filled with anger. He said in a deep voice, "Black Crow Taoist is not a human. Why can he go in? Do you humans really want to declare war against us? Now, there are not many powerful human beings in the human race. If you want to declare war, you better think about the consequences. It's very simple. Black Crow Taoist killed a Demon Clan celestial being, so he's a friend of the Human Clan. If you want to enter, it's very simple. You just have to show the Demon Clan's corpse around you as proof of your allegiance. Then, I'll welcome you." The East City Lord smiled slightly, but then his face turned cold. "As for threats, don't waste your breath. If the Demon Clan has the guts to attack, I like to see if the Demon Clan can conquer the Human Clan, or if the Human Clan can wipe out the Demon Clan. If I remember correctly, the old Demon Emperor is still licking his wounds in the Demon Clan's secret realm. This time, you might as well ask him to come together and see if he's as lucky as last time." Facing three powerful powerhouses, the East City Lord was not afraid at all. At this moment, the other three cities also erupted with a terrifying aura. The four auras connected. The three Demon Clan powerhouses were so shocked that their expressions changed. With their strength, naturally, they would not be afraid of the East City Lord and the others. After all, they were real powerful powerhouses. They were not like the East City Lord, who relied on arrays and Tao artifacts to have the battle strength of a 7th-level celestial being. However, these Demon Clan powerhouses were not afraid of the East City Lord, but they were also afraid of the Human Clan's territory, because there was a human emperor who had severely injured the 4 emperors in the Human Clan. There was also Qin Shujian, who had killed Emperor Qi Ju in seconds. If they stepped into the Human Clan's territory, they might attract the attention of these two powerhouses, no matter which of the two made a move. If he wanted to kill them, it would be an easy task. The Demon Clan will remember this matter. The Human Clan of the Western State had better be careful. Don't get killed. After the leading Demon Clan powerhouse left a threatening sentence, he left with his men. It was impossible to break into the Human Clan's territory. Not much. Did they want to stay and embarrass themselves? Therefore, the 3 Demon Clan powerhouses left very quickly, and when they retreated, the 4 city lords also restrained their auras at the same time. East City. That shocking aura also alarmed all the cultivators in the city. Just when they thought that another battle was about to break out, the aura disappeared. In this regard, some people were on tenterhooks, but they also inexplicably breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, the thousands of feet-long flood dragon corpse outside the East City also attracted the attention of many Human Clan cultivators. Damn, is this a real dragon or a flood dragon? It should be a flood dragon. This aura is really powerful. Even if it's dead, it makes people tremble. I heard that the flood dragon blood is the best divine medicine to build one's foundation. If one can bathe in it, I'm afraid one will fly. If you really bathe in the flood dragon blood, I'm not sure if you can fly, but you will definitely fly. Some cultivators and players looked at the flood dragon corpse in front of them in disgust. Although the dark flood dragon had already fallen, as a powerful powerhouse at the 8th level of the celestial being realm, the indestructible pressure was still strong. Ordinary spirit martial realm cultivators were not even qualified to get close. They could only watch from afar. The effect of the flood dragon. Some people were still clear. It could be said that this corpse was a treasure from the beginning to the end. Unfortunately, no one dared to make a move. Not to mention whether the corpse had an owner or not, just the pressure alone prevented others from approaching. The flood dragon blood is really good to build a foundation. In the City Lord mansion, the East City Lord touched his chin and muttered, "Flood dragon blood to build a body." It could greatly increase the potential of the human clan. His Hua family also had a few good geniuses in this generation. If they could have the flood dragon blood, they would definitely be able to go further. But the flood dragon blood was overbearing. The flood dragon blood of the 8th level of the celestial being realm was even more terrifying. If an expert below the celestial being realm bathed in the flood dragon blood of this level without permission, there would only be one result. Their bones and flesh would melt and their bodies would explode. But if it was diluted, it would be a treasure that could be used. Immediately, the East City Lord had already made up his mind to find a way to get some flood dragon blood from Black Crow Taoist. After all, he helped him block the pursuit of the demon clan. In this way, it was not too much to ask for some flood dragon blood. "Give me some while you're at it," Dan Hao suddenly said. "If an expert of Brother Dan's level wants to bathe in the flood dragon blood, I'm afraid the entire flood dragon will be dried up. I'm afraid Black Crow Taoist won't agree." The East City Lord was surprised. He thought Dan Hao wanted to use this to break through to the mighty realm. Dan Hao snorted and said, "What do you mean? Only your Hua family has a descendant, but my Dan family can't?" "Brother Dan, don't misunderstand." The East City Lord smiled bitterly. Since the last time he said that he would let the various clans enter the East Continent, Dan Hao had a lot of opinions about him. Until now, no matter what he said, he had to argue with him. Fortunately, the East City Lord gradually got used to it and was too lazy to argue with him about this. Now, he had to keep an eye on Black Crow Taoist movements. Letting the foreign clans into the city was not a trivial matter. Especially a top expert like this Taoist, it was even more extraordinary. If the other party caused trouble in the city, it would definitely set off endless slaughter. At that time, as the City Lord of the East City, he would not be able to escape the blame. However, the East City Lord did not think Black Crow Taoist would do so. It was just a precaution. He still chose to keep an eye on him. On the other side, Black Crow Taoist had already entered the city. Naturally, he could feel the faint divine consciousness around him. For this, Black Crow Taoist did not care too much. To put it bluntly, he was still a foreign clansman. The East City was an important place for the human clan, so it was normal for the human clan's experts to be worried. The current Black Crow Taoist. He was already standing in front of a mansion's attic. The words Yuan Pavilion were written on it. Immediately after, Black Crow Taoist walked in. Liang Mountain Spirit Territory, Yuan Sect. When the North Continent and the human territory were having an incident, Qin Shujian served as the referee of the grand competition, observing the potential of each disciple. Although he had the heaven list in hand, everyone's potential was clear at a glance. However, how could the true potential be completely revealed by a list? At least until now. Qin Shujian also found a few good seedlings. These seedlings were not even qualified to show their talent on the heaven list. At this moment, the two people were already standing opposite each other in the arena. Qin Shujian's gaze also fell on the arena. That was the competition arena for the basic realm. One was Ningbo, the other was also a disciple recruited in this grand competition. Qin Shujian did not remember the other party's name. A basic realm. It was not worth remembering. At this moment, as the grand competition began, Ningbo held the scabbard in his hand and said calmly, "Senior brother, please advise me. Be careful." The disciple did not decline and suddenly unsheathed his long saber. The saber aura seemed to tear the air with a tiger's roar. In just an instant, it was already in front of Ningbo. Ningbo stood still, calmly watching the long saber coming. The next second, the thumb holding the scabbard pushed forward, and the sword was an inch away from the scabbard. Immediately after, the terrifying sword aura roared like a gust of wind, sweeping toward the disciple. The sword aura broke through the air. The momentum was great. The disciple felt a terrifying warning in his heart. Without thinking, he pulled back his saber to defend. The next moment, the sword aura bombarded him, knocking him out of the arena. When the disciple landed on the ground, the 1-inch sword had already returned to its scabbard. Nyingbo said with his hands folded, "Thank you for letting me win." Below the arena, the disciple's face was absent-minded. Looking at the cracked palm and the long saber that fell to the ground, he could not believe that he would be defeated so quickly. The opponent did not seem to have moved his body. It was just a sword. No, it could only be considered half a sword. Being defeated by a cultivator of the same level with half a sword, such a blow to him was extremely heavy. This sword should be the legacy of the heavens in the library. Others could not see the depth of Nyingbo, but how could Qin Shujian not know? From the sword aura that was just revealed, Nyingbo should have obtained a powerful swordsmanship. However, it did not matter whether the swordsmanship was powerful or not. What really made Qin Shujian satisfied was that Nyingbo had really mastered a lot. In the basic martial realm, to be able to grasp the surface of the techniques of the heavens was already a shocking figure. This was talent, an innate talent. It was not something that could be created. If there is no accident, Nyingbo should be the first in this competition of the basic martial realm. Looking at the strong foundation in his body, it should be easy for him to break through to the true martial realm. If that is the case, should I keep my promise? Qin Shujian pondered for a moment. The matter of taking in a disciple before was just a slip of the tongue. He took a fancy to the rich luck of the other party, so he had this idea. After he finished speaking, Qin Shujian put this matter aside. But now that he saw Nyingbo, his heart was also somewhat hesitant. But Qin Shujian did not hesitate for too long. Forget it. Words are like water that has been spilled. It can't be taken back. Anyway, taking in a disciple is good. If he really has potential, he will be a good help in the future. If he really doesn't care about the results, then just send him away. It won't waste much time. Qin Shujian made up his mind. Then, he looked at the other arenas. The basic martial realm was nothing to see. Nyingbo was basically going to win. On the other hand, the competition in the other arenas was a bit more intense. It could be considered as adding some fun when he was bored. After a day, the competition had basically reached the final stage. Also at this time, Qin Shujian felt the storage ring slightly vibrate. Then his divine sense fell and saw the communication jade talisman stored inside. Immediately, he had already read the message. A moment later, the smile on Qin Shujian's face became a bit more obvious. P.S. 27,000 words for today's third update, begging for monthly votes. Chapter 6:12. Black Crow Taoist had killed a powerful figure of the demon clan. This news, Yuan Pavilion had already sent a message over at the first moment. After receiving the news, Qin Shujian also had to say that it was awesome. The Flood Dragon was equivalent to the current royal family of the Great Zhao Empire in the Demon Clan and had a great status. A Flood Dragon at the 8th level of the Heaven-Human realm. Its status among the dragons was definitely not low. Now that it had been killed by Black Crow Taoist, the Demon Clan would be heartbroken for a long time. This time, Yuan's sect sent a message. It was because Black Crow Taoist had come to submit the task. Soon, Qin Shujian sent the message back. Now that the sect competition was about to end, he had no intention of leaving immediately. So Qin Shujian simply asked Black Crow Taoist to wait in the East City. After the matter here was dealt with, it would not be too late for him to go there. Soon, for days passed quietly. The sect competition was finally completely over. As the first sect competition, the rewards were also very generous. In addition to the rewards that were originally set, Qin Shujian also gave out other rewards. The first place in the basic realm was rewarded with a middle-grade spiritual weapon, a bottle of 5th-grade elixir, and an upper-grade truth-rank martial art. The first place in the real martial realm was rewarded with an upper-grade spiritual weapon, a bottle of 6th-grade elixir, and an upper-grade spirit-rank martial art. The first place in the spiritual martial realm was rewarded with 2 upper-grade spiritual weapons, a bottle of 7th-grade elixir, and an upper-grade god-rank martial art. As for the top 10, They were also rewarded with a lot of things. The reason for doing so, Qin Shujian also wanted to spur these disciples so that they would not slack off. After the rewards were given, the disciples who got the rewards were naturally ecstatic. The disciples who did not get the rewards were so envious that their eyes turned red. This was not a sect competition. It was clearly a robbery of contribution points. Among other things, the elixir alone was enough to make everyone jealous. A bottle of elixir was not as simple as one pill. It could be called a bottle. There were at least 10 elixirs in it, and these elixirs directly increased one's strength and were even more useful. If the rewards that were originally set were included, it could be said that the first place in this sect competition had already earned a lot. In the courtyard, Qin Shujian sat there unperturbed. Standing in front of him was Ningbo, who was ranked first on the martial entry roll. At this moment, he stood in front of Qin Shujian. Ningbo's heart was beating rapidly. He was very clear. He had obtained first place in the martial entry list's large competition. So why had Qin Shujian suddenly summoned him? What was the reason for this? He looked at Ningbo, who was forcing himself to calm down. Qin Shujian asked, "Are you suppressing your cultivation state by force?" "Yes." "For the sake of obtaining first place in this year's martial entry tournament?" "Yes." Ningbo answered Qin Shujian's question seriously. Qin Shujian glanced at him. Soon after, he lightly smiled and said, "I gave you a year's time. But right now you are only in the basic martial realm and have not broken through to the true martial realm. One of the criteria for me to accept you as my disciple is to break through to the true martial realm." "A year's time hasn't passed yet." Ningbo took a deep breath and said in a low voice. Yes, a year's time hadn't passed yet. He had calculated according to the time. There were still 2 days before the 1 year's time limit. In the remaining 2 days, Ningbo had news that he had broken through to the true martial realm. Qin Shujian knew what he was thinking. He waved his hand and replied, "Then you can go back. I will only wait 2 days for you. If you can break through to the true martial realm in 2 days, you can come here to find me. If you can't break through, you can also choose one of the many elders to be your disciple. I believe that your potential is clear for all to see. If you want to be my disciple, no one will refuse. This disciple only wishes to serve the sect master. That depends on whether you have the opportunity. This disciple will take his leave first." Ningbo bowed and left. After Ningbo left, the Godslayer's voice sounded, "You really want to accept him as your disciple? Senior, what do you think?" Qin Shujian didn't answer but asked a question. The Godslayer said, "Your talent is average. You are destined to become a true immortal in the future. If you accept a disciple with average talent, it won't be a good thing for you. The human race is declining now, but there must be a lot of geniuses. You can definitely choose 1 or 2 with better talent." Accepting a disciple was a serious matter. There were a lot of things that were involved later on. Sometimes, karma was not so easy to explain. In the Godslayer's opinion, Ningbo's talent was really average. His future achievements would stop at the mighty figure level. For others, to be able to cultivate a disciple with the mighty figure level was already up high in the sky. However, Qin Shujian was destined to become an immortal. How could the first disciple of a true immortal stop at the mighty figure level? If word got out, it would be a joke. Qin Shujian said with a faint smile, "Senior, have you noticed anything other than talent?" "What do you mean?" The Godslayer was stunned. "Senior, haven't you noticed that his luck is very strong?" "Luck?" The Godslayer was stunned. He really didn't pay attention to this matter. To be honest, it was generally difficult to see whether a person's luck was strong or not. Only at the level of Qin Shujian and the human emperor, the Godslayer could sense it. Ningbo's luck was strong, but it hadn't reached this point. So, the Godslayer didn't notice it much. "Yes, luck," Qin Shujian said calmly, "his luck is very strong. Although it's not as good as mine and the human emperor's, as long as he doesn't die, he will have great achievements in the future." It determined a person's growth. In addition to talent, luck was also very important. People with good luck could turn misfortune into blessings. When they encountered bottlenecks, they could have an epiphany and break through. It could be said that, with strong luck, the path of cultivation would be smoother. Compared to the last time he saw Ningbo, this time, the other party's luck was even stronger. It was just that this kind of concentration hadn't reached the point of transforming into blue. According to Qin Shujian's estimation, maybe if the other party got some more opportunities, there would be a chance for him to transform into blue luck. But before that, the rich yellow providence was actually enough. Taking in a disciple was a big deal. If the disciple's luck was strong, and his own luck was also strong, they could complement each other. Of course, if a person's luck was low, but he took in a person with strong luck as his disciple, then there would be two results. One was to be restrained by the other party's luck and die a violent death. The other was to be nourished by the other party's luck, and thus become prosperous. Qin Shujian was very confident in his own luck. Although Ningbo's luck was strong, it couldn't threaten him. In this case, taking the other party as a disciple would only nourish his own luck. Hearing that, the Godslayer didn't say more. Qin Shujian had a lot of secrets, and it was even more extraordinary to be able to see through his luck. He didn't ask anything. After all, the other party's inheritance came from the existence above the rules. It seemed to be understandable that he had so many means. After returning to the residence of the outer disciples, Ningbo immediately went into closed-door training. With his foundation, it wasn't difficult to break through to the real martial arts realm. Almost in less than a day, Ningbo had broken the shackles from the basic martial arts realm to the real martial arts realm and successfully promoted to the real martial arts realm. After the breakthrough, he didn't immediately go to Qin Shujian. Instead, he swallowed a 5th-level elixir and completely consolidated his cultivation at the peak of the 1st level of the real martial arts realm. The next day, in the courtyard, Ningbo had come again. "You swallowed the elixir?" "Yes, I consolidated my realm." Ningbo nodded. Qin Shujian said, "Don't take too many elixirs. Focus on your own cultivation. Taking too many elixirs can easily cause elixir toxicity and lead to a weak foundation, which is not good for your future growth." "I understand." Ningbo looked solemn and nodded. Then, Qin Shujian looked at him again and said, "But if you're at a bottleneck, it's not impossible to break through by taking elixirs. You should know how to be flexible in everything." Ningbo was silent. Then, Qin Shujian said, "Since you've broken through to the real martial arts realm and won the 1st place in the competition, I'll officially accept you as my disciple according to my promise." Speaking of this, he suddenly looked solemn and shouted coldly, "Ningbo, are you willing to worship me as your teacher?" "I'm willing." Ningbo immediately knelt down and said ecstatically, "There are not many rules in my sect. Only deceiving your teacher and killing your ancestors is intolerable. If you dare to violate them in the future, I'll personally clean up the sect." "I understand. In this case, you're my first disciple. I kowtow to you, master." Ningbo solemnly kowtowed several times. Qin Shujian also sat still. After that, he said faintly, "Get up." "Thank you, master." Ningbo stood up with a respectful look. In this way, the apprenticeship ceremony was completed. Originally, with Qin Shujian's identity, if he wanted to accept a disciple, it would definitely not be so simple. It was just that he had always been afraid of cumbersome things, so he simply didn't make such a big fuss. Moreover, Ningbo's strength was not strong now. If it was publicized too much, it would not do him any good. Accepting a disciple was not about the form. The other party's kowtows just now were already connected with his own luck. Looking at Ningbo in front of him, Qin Shujian said, "Give me your identity token." "Yes." Ningbo consciously took his identity token and handed it over respectfully. Qin Shujian's divine thought fell. That was to change the other party's identity from an outer disciple to a personal disciple. Then, he returned the identity token back. With this token, you can freely enter the first 4 floors of the book pavilion. Every 3 months, you have a chance to enter the secret realm to cultivate for 7 days. In addition, every month, you have a chance to enter the spirit vein to cultivate for 7 days. A few simple words. It made Ningbo's heart beat wildly. Freely entering the first 4 floors of the book pavilion could save a lot of contribution points. As for the chance to enter the secret realm, needless to say, although he had not really entered the secret realm, Now the function of the secret realm had already been spread in the sect. As for the spirit vein, Ningbo did not know much, but he was not worried. Qin Shujian would tell him about these things sooner or later. Immediately, Qin Shujian pointed out. Ningbo suddenly stood still. A huge memory surged in his mind. At that moment, Ningbo thought that his head was going to explode. After an unknown period of time, Ningbo completely digested that memory. What I pass to you is the foundation of our sect, the Guiyuan ancestral canon. Among them, the basic martial arts to the divine martial arts have all been given to you. But the Divine Access chapter is on the 5th floor of the book pavilion. If you have the chance in the future, you can find it yourself. Seeing that he had woken up, Qin Shujian said faintly. The Guiyuan ancestral canon that he passed to Ningbo was also an emasculated version. There was no way to cultivate the Red Lotus of Purgation. However, except for the Red Lotus of Purgation, Qin Shujian had passed on the rest. And in order to fit the other party's cultivation, he also made a little change. With Qin Shujian's current realm, it was not difficult to modify the cultivation methods below the celestial being level. Even if the Guiyuan ancestral canon was deduced by the system, it was the same. The cultivation methods of the world would not really reach a perfect level. The Guiyuan ancestral canon was the same. There were some flaws in it that Qin Shujian could not see in the past, but now he could see clearly. Of course, these so-called flaws were only relative. Everyone's physique was different. If Qin Shujian cultivated it himself, there would naturally be no flaws. But if it was Ningbo who cultivated it, there would be flaws. In the end, the deduction of the Guiyuan ancestral canon was also based on Qin Shujian himself. Everyone's talent and aptitude were different. Therefore, even when cultivating the same cultivation method, one would encounter different difficulties. In addition, I have temporarily sealed the Spiritual Martial Arts chapter and the Divine Access chapter. When you reach the peak of the real martial arts, you will naturally unlock the next level of cultivation method. Thank you for teaching me, Master. Ningbo bowed solemnly. He did not have much knowledge, but the Guiyuan ancestral canon in his mind, which only had the cultivation method of the real martial arts realm, already made him feel boundless. Just flipping through it a little, it made Ningbo feel dizzy. Qin Shujian said, cultivation methods are the foundation. Martial arts are the means to fight the enemy. I saw that you mainly used palm techniques in the competition, but you did not draw your long sword. Do you prefer palm techniques or sword techniques? I prefer sword techniques. Ningbo answered truthfully. It's just that the sword technique I cultivated is a bit powerful. If I really use it, I will either die or be injured, so I dare not use it easily. Show it to me with all your strength. Let me see, Qin Shujian said calmly. Hearing that, Ningbo was stunned, but quickly reacted. He took 2 steps back and said in a deep voice, Master, please give me some pointers. I have offended you. He was not pretentious. He cultivated this sword technique, although he thought that it was powerful, but this was only relative. Ningbo was very clear about his own strength. It was impossible for him to injure his master with this swordsmanship. After that, Ningbo immediately calmed down. He looked at Qin Shujian and held the sword hilt with his left hand. At that moment, his aura changed completely. It was originally neutral and peaceful, but at this moment, it was like a magic weapon that had been sealed for a long time and was about to be unsheathed. Vaguely, a sword intent was quietly born. Good. Seeing this, Qin Shujian nodded slightly. He had just broken through to the real martial arts realm and was about to give birth to sword intent. This was partly due to the swordsmanship, but it was also due to the other party's talent. However, this sword intent was too weak and had not fully formed. In Qin Shujian's view, it was like a candle in the wind, which would be extinguished at any time. Qin Shujian did not care too much about this. Not to mention this sword intent that was not fully formed. Even the sword intent that was at the great achievement level was not of much use to him. At this moment, Ningbo's mind was completely calm. A sense of enlightenment surged from his heart. Then he held the sword hilt and pulled hard. Whoosh! A sharp and harsh sound of the sword rang through the courtyard. Then, A frosty sword light seemed to cut through the air and came in front of Qin Shujian in a flash. This sword was very fast. It was so fast that it could kill a real martial arts realm warrior instantly. And at the moment when the long sword was unsheathed, Ning Yu's originally weak sword essence also became stronger as she slashed out with her long sword. This sword, it gathered the peak of his essence, qi, and spirit. However, Qin Shujian simply stretched out a finger. The next second, all the sword light and sword sound disappeared without a trace. The tip of the sword stopped on the tip of his finger and could no longer move forward. Seeing this scene, Ningbo was shocked. He had known that his sword could not hurt his opponent. But like now, he was caught so easily. It still surprised him. But after the surprise, Ningbo sensibly put the sword back into the sheath, then bowed and said, "I was rude. I hope Master won't blame me. You don't have to be so polite in front of me." Qin Shujian slowly withdrew his hand and then thought for a while. "If I'm not wrong, your sword technique should be based on storing the sword intent in the long sword. It's usually sharp and reserved. Only when it's out of the sheath can it be earth-shattering. Your sword strike is quite similar to Test Jianfeng's 7 kills of gods and demons against the stars. They are both extremely powerful sword arts. But if this strike doesn't work, it will be difficult to continue." Ningbo stood aside, silently listening to Qin Shujian's words. These things, he didn't know much about it, because when he got this sword technique from the book pavilion, he only saw the action of drawing the sword. Then, with Bai Cheng's guidance, he figured out this sword technique. But compared with the 7 kills of gods and demons of Test Jianfeng, your sword technique is more extreme. If the sword is not out of the sheath, there is room to maneuver. But if the sword is out of the sheath, it must be a life and death battle. Your sword technique not only cuts the body, but also the spirit. The sword cuts the body, the intent cuts the spirit. This is the path that your sword technique should take. If that's the case, I have a martial art that is suitable for you. If you can apply it to your sword technique, its power will definitely reach a new level. The martial art that Qin Shujian was talking about was undoubtedly the spirit-severing martial art. The divinity martial art of the Heavenly Corpse sect was a move that specialized in attacking the spirit. Thinking about it this way, Qin Shujian couldn't help but wonder about one thing. That was, did the Heavenly Corpse sect really get the legacy of the heavenly being that Ningbo got? There were so many books in the book pavilion. 99% of them were seized from various sections. Qin Shujian couldn't be sure which sect the heavenly being's legacy came from. But now that he thought about it carefully, that sword technique just happened to be compatible with the spirit-severing martial art. Maybe it was something left behind by the ancestors of the Heavenly Corpse sect. However, Qin Shujian didn't think too much about it. It didn't matter whether it was or not. Anyway, the Heavenly Corpse sect had already been destroyed. All the martial arts were the inheritance of the origin sect. In front of Ningbo, Qin Shujian took out a piece of spiritual paper and spread it flat on the stone table. Using his hand as a brush and the spiritual tea as ink, he started to write on it. After a few breaths, the light cyan spiritual paper had already transformed into a pure cyan color. The word, severing, it was vivid on the paper. Qin Shujian folded the spiritual paper and then used a sealing technique on it. Then he handed it to the other party. Seeing this, Ningbo took it with both hands. "You can take this back and study it carefully, but don't easily damage the seal on it. If you encounter a life-threatening situation in the future, you can use your true essence to remove the seal on it. It will save your life. But if you do that, the spiritual paper will be completely destroyed. As for how you use it, it's up to you," Qin Shujian said. The seal on it was very subtle. It could be removed with a true essence impact. He didn't dare to set up a seal that was too difficult. Otherwise, a small practitioner in the real martial arts realm wouldn't be able to remove the seal even if he used all his strength. Hearing this, Ningbo solemnly put the spiritual paper into his arms and said gratefully, "Master, I will never forget the treasure you gave me. Go. Don't bother me if there's nothing important." Qin Shujian waved his hand to drive him away. Hearing this, Ningbo respectfully retreated. As for teaching disciples, To tell the truth, Qin Shujian didn't have much experience. So when he met Ningbo, he just taught him everything he could. As for how much he could comprehend and how far he could go, it depended on his own luck. Qin Shujian didn't have the idea to change his mind. Anyway, he had given the benefits that should be given. The back door that should be opened was also opened. The rest was up to him. Qin Shujian wouldn't give him cultivation resources and elixirs for free. After all, being able to enter the secret realm to cultivate was already a great benefit. As for the rest, it was up to Ningbo to fight for it himself. In the Sea of Consciousness, Godslayer said faintly, "Is this how you teach your disciples? Otherwise, what else can I do?" Qin Shujian's rhetorical question made Godslayer choke. After a long time, Godslayer said, "When the strong take in disciples, they always bring their disciples with them to guide their cultivation. They will give appropriate guidance on how to take every step so that their disciples won't take any detours. But for someone like you, to be honest, it's really the first time I've seen someone like you. People like you shouldn't take in disciples so easily in the future. After all, geniuses are rare. Don't harm them casually." These words, the god-slaying saber spoke earnestly. Qin Shujian's face was as dark as ink. What did he mean? Don't harm them. Was Sect Master Qin's method of teaching disciples so bad? Qin Shujian thought carefully. He didn't find anything wrong with him. He gave him the cultivation method. He gave him the martial arts. He had given him the authority to access the secret realm and the library. Except for the lack of elixirs for his 3 meals a day, he didn't seem to have missed anything when he went out with bodyguards. Wait, bodyguards? Qin Shujian suddenly understood and said, "I know what's wrong. Protectors. That's right. As my disciple, how can he not have a protector?" What a mistake. If Godslayer hadn't spoken, he would have almost forgotten about this matter. His disciple. He still had to have the necessary cards. Protectors. Qin Shujian thought for a while, and finally took out a communication jade token. Seeing this, Godslayer didn't bother to say anything. After doing these things, Qin Shujian also got up and went to the 100,000 miles territory of the human race. The things that Yuan Zong needed to deal with now were almost done. Even if there were still some things that hadn't been resolved, they could be handed over to the other elders to deal with. There was no need to stay in the sect anymore. Moreover, Black Crow Taoist had gone to the East City for a few days. Black Crow Taoist was a powerful expert after all. It was a little rude to let him wait like this. After 2 or 3 months. At the entrance of the passage, the guard had been replaced by another person. As for that celestial being, Qin Shujian was a little unfamiliar. He had only seen him once during the war, but he didn't know who he was. He was a 4th-tier celestial being, Saint Realm Cultivator. There was no need for him to take him to heart. Looking at the sky-reaching mirror, Qin Shujian suddenly stopped and said, "Senior, is there a way to block the detection of the sky-reaching mirror? I don't need to block all information. I just need to block some combat strength." "Yes, the heaven list in your Sea of Consciousness can do this," Godslayer said lightly. The sky-reaching mirror was not the complete sky-reaching mirror. If it was the complete top true treasure, no one could hide in front of the sky-reaching mirror. But now the sky-reaching mirror was broken. No matter how amazing the power of the fragment was, it would be reduced after all. After receiving the Godslayer's reply, Qin Shujian immediately tried to connect to the heaven list. Then a mysterious force covered his body, standing in front of the sky-reaching mirror. His attributes were all blank. Seeing this, Qin Shujian secretly removed part of the blocking force. Suddenly, his life and race were all exposed. The celestial being guarding the entrance of the passage saw this scene and couldn't help but be stunned. He had been guarding here for 2 months. Countless cultivators came in and out. Even the Saint Realm cultivators passed by. But even so, he didn't see anyone who could block the detection of the sky-reaching mirror. In the end, Qin Shujian did it. Sect leader Qin. Just as the celestial being was about to speak, he had already seen Qin Shujian walk into the passage. He could only shut his mouth helplessly. If it were anyone else, if they dared to block information in front of the sky-reaching mirror, he would have intercepted them. But Qin Shujian didn't dare. Or rather, In the human race, except for the human emperor, probably no one dared to offend him. The news of Emperor Qi Ju being killed instantly. It had already spread throughout the eastern continent. Therefore, Qin Shujian's strength was also deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. On the other side, Qin Shujian had officially entered the human race's 100,000 miles territory. In the eyes of ordinary people, 100,000 miles of territory was vast and boundless. But in front of those celestial being experts, 100,000 miles of territory could be traversed in the blink of an eye. He took a few steps forward. Qin Shujian had already shortened the 100,000 miles of territory to a foot. Not long after, he appeared at the eastern city gate. Flood Dragon? His footsteps paused slightly. Not far from the city gate, the corpse of a flood dragon that was tens of thousands of feet long lay there. Blood was still slowly seeping out of the injuries on its body, as if it would never stop. A powerful pressure spread out from there. He only took a few glances. Qin Shujian walked into the eastern city. Although this was the first time he had seen a flood dragon, he had seen a true dragon several times. The Star Saint of Heavenly Pattern Island. The Demon Emperor of the Demon Clan. Both were considered true dragon bodies. It was hard to say who was stronger between the two, but Qin Shujian still leaned towards the Demon Emperor. Although the Star Saint had lived for a long time, but after so many years, it had long been crippled. Compared to the Demon Emperor, it was a completely different concept. Soon, Qin Shujian entered the Yuan Pavilion, and then walked to the inner hall under the guidance of the deacon. Black Crow Taoist priest was sitting right there. In the past few days, he had not left the place at all, sitting still like a wooden man, which made the people of Yuan Pavilion feel helpless. Noticing Qin Shujian's arrival, Black Crow Taoist opened his closed eyes, then stood up, cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Emperor Qin." Emperor Qin? Qin Shujian looked puzzled. Black Crow Taoist said with a smile, "Emperor Qin already has the strength of an emperor of a clan, and is also the strongest of a top clan. Naturally, he is qualified to be called an emperor, but there is only one emperor in a clan. The human clan already has an emperor, so it is not appropriate to call him that. So, I boldly call him Emperor Qin. I hope Emperor Qin doesn't mind." Haha, what's wrong with what you said? After Qin Shujian understood, he suddenly felt happy. Emperor Qin. Good lord, he had never thought that he would have this title one day. But thinking about it carefully, Black Crow Taoist seemed to be right. He had the strength comparable to an emperor, and it was enough to be compared with the strongest of a top clan. Then, it seemed that there was no problem to call himself an emperor. Emperor Qin. This title sounded better than Sect Leader Qin. Qin Shujian was worried that this title would be too arrogant, but soon found that his worries were completely unnecessary. Emperor Qin. Then, he would call him Emperor Qin. As for Sect Leader Qin, well, it didn't matter if he called him that in the Eastern Continent, but in front of the foreigners. If he still called him Sect Leader Qin, it didn't seem very domineering. Without the two words Emperor Qin, it would be more intimidating. Brother Black Crow, please sit down. After Qin Shujian sat down on the main seat, he looked at Black Crow Taoist, who was still standing there, and said enthusiastically, "Thank you, Emperor Qin." Black Crow Taoist was a little flattered by Qin Shujian's enthusiasm, and he sat down again after saying thanks. At this time, in the Yuan Pavilion, Luo Xing, the pavilion master, had served the two spiritual tea as a servant. He was sitting here. Needless to say, Qin Shujian, Black Crow Taoist, was also a famous top powerful figure. Luo Xing's status was not low, but in front of the two, he was dispensable. So, he consciously played the role of a servant. Qin Shujian picked up the spiritual tea and said with a faint smile, "Some things happened in the sect a few days ago, so I came a few times late. Brother Black Crow, sorry to have kept you waiting." "Don't mention it, Emperor Qin. It's only a few days. It's enough to be received by Emperor Qin." Black Crow Taoist was respectful. Compared to the last time, this time, his attitude was completely different. Qin Shujian said, "Brother, have you collected all the materials needed to cast a magic weapon this time?" "Yes." Black Crow Taoist nodded and said, "These days, I went to various places to collect materials, and I have got some of them. In addition, the flood dragon's body outside the East City is also one of the materials. I wonder what grade of spirit weapon can be forged with this material? While talking, his eyes were a little hot. To kill the dark flood dragon. On the one hand, he wanted to take revenge on the demon clan, and on the other hand, he wanted to use its body as a material to cast a magic weapon. The flood dragon was naturally different from the ordinary demon clan. The things he possessed were all extremely precious. Qin Shujian said, if the complete flood dragon's body is used as a material, it can at least be cast into a top spiritual weapon comparable to a six-seal Taoist weapon. A top spiritual weapon comparable to a six-seal Taoist weapon. The smile on Black Crow Taoist's face was even more obvious. A magic weapon of this level. Except for the fact that it couldn't suppress fate, it was no different from a six-seal Taoist weapon. As for suppressing fate, Black Crow Taoist didn't need such a thing. The Black Crow clan was long gone. Although he called himself Black Crow Taoist, it was just to pay tribute to the former Black Crow clan. As long as he died, the Black Crow clan would be completely destroyed. Suppressing fate. There was no way to say it. While the two were talking, Luo Xing stood aside quietly. But when he heard Black Crow Taoist call Emperor Qin, he couldn't help but feel excited. Not long after, a deacon came in from outside. Master, Cabinet Master, didn't I tell you not to disturb us unless it's urgent? Luo Xing frowned and said unhappily. The deacon bowed and said, Huazhan, the Lord of the East City, is here, hoping to see you and Master Black Crow. This? Luo Xing hesitated and looked sideways at Qin Shujian on the main seat, waiting for him to make a decision. Qin Shujian said, Lord of the East City is here. Ask him to come in. Yes. The deacon left respectfully. Qin Shujian was a little confused about Huazhan's purpose of coming here at this time. More strangely, Huazhan even asked to see Black Crow Taoist by name. When he looked at Black Crow Taoist, Qin Shujian also saw the confusion on his face. Obviously, Black Crow Taoist didn't know the situation either. In less than 15 minutes, Lord of the East City came in from outside. When he saw Qin Shujian, he cupped his hands and said with a smile, Master Qin, Lord of the East City, please sit down. Thank you, Master Qin. After Lord of the East City sat down, Qin Shujian said, Lord of the East City, what brings you here? He didn't beat around the bush. Hearing this, Lord of the East City said with a smile, I heard that Master Qin came to my East City. How can I not see you? Besides, I also have something to discuss with Taoist brother Black Crow. What's the matter? Black Crow Taoist, who was sitting aside, looked confused. Lord of the East City stopped smiling and said in a deep voice, there are some juniors in the Hua family who need to lay the foundation, so I want to ask Taoist brother Black Crow for some blood of the flood dragon. This, Black Crow Taoist priest hesitated for a moment, then looked at Qin Shujian and said, Emperor Qin, if the flood dragon loses a little bit of its blood, will it affect the forging of magic weapons? Ordinary blood is no problem, as long as the blood essence is not lost. Hearing this, before Black Crow Taoist said anything, Lord of the East City said first, I only need some ordinary blood. Blood essence is not necessary. In this case, no problem. Black Crow Taoist was willing to give face to Lord of the East City. Thank you, Taoist brother Black Crow. The East City Lord's face was full of smiles, but his heart was heavy. Emperor Qin. If he didn't hear it wrong, Black Crow Taoist called him that. P.S. It's not easy to write. Please support the original version. I am really decent on the Chidian Chinese network. There is a promotion of Qin Shujian's character in the comments section. Those who need a fan title can participate. Chapter 613. When he walked out of Yuan Pavilion, the East City Lord was in a trance. Emperor Qin. He suddenly had a premonition that things were going to be troublesome. Two tigers cannot live on the same mountain. The human clan already had a human emperor, and now there was another Emperor Qin. If one of them was not handled well, perhaps the human clan would face collapse. Yes, collapse. The East City Lord believed that his worries were not unfounded. This was also the biggest drawback of the human clan. In the East State, On the surface, the Great Zhao controlled the human clan. In fact, the human clan was divided into two forces, the Great Zhao and the cultivation world. In the past, the cultivation world was weak. Even if it was separated, it would not affect the Great Zhao. But now it was different. The rise of Qin Shujian made the cultivation world seem to be out of the control of the Great Zhao. In the past, this drawback had not been revealed. But now, Black Crow Taoist priest's words made the East City Lord feel that there was a sign. Emperor Qin. If Qin Shujian wanted to claim the title of emperor, what would the Great Zhao do? They would tacitly agree that he was the emperor, or they would forcibly suppress him. The East City Lord thought about it. If he was the human emperor, he would not tolerate the existence of a second emperor. If the human emperor attacked Qin Shujian, then the human clan would be in turmoil. Maybe the human clan would be divided. When that time came, the situation that the human clan had barely stabilized would be gone. Without Qin Shujian, without the human emperor, the strength of the human clan would be weakened a lot. When facing the attacks of the other clans, they would not be able to resist. For a moment, the East City Lord's mind was in a mess. He suddenly regretted going to Yuan Pavilion at this time and hearing Black Crow Taoist priest's words. If he had not heard the words Emperor Qin, he would not have to think so much. Alas, it is not a good thing to know too much. But what can I do now that I know? What if Qin Shujian really wants to claim the title of emperor? Things are going to be difficult. The East City Lord sighed deeply. Things were really going to be tricky. It was the first time that he felt so annoyed since he had cultivated to such a state. The East City Lord was already considering whether to report this matter to the imperial court. What happened? A familiar voice sounded in his ears. The East City Lord looked at Dan Hao and shook his head. It's nothing. It's just a small matter. He didn't say much to Su Zhan. There was no need for that. Before Qin Shujian became the emperor, the East City Lord did not want to spread the news. And in his opinion, Dan Hao is also a little stupid. If the other party knew about this matter, it might push things to an irreversible extent. On the other side, after settling Black Crow Taoist priest down, Qin Shujian stood on the balcony of the attic, clasping his hands behind his back as he looked towards the City Lord mansion. The East City Lord thought that he hid his emotions very well. But in reality, how could it be hidden from him? It was just that Qin Shujian did not expose him and let the East City Lord leave. Emperor Qin. Qin Shujian recalled the strange behavior of the East City Lord and quickly connected the dots. To tell the truth, he had never thought about becoming an emperor, nor did he think about competing with the human emperor for the orthodoxy of the human race. No matter if it was the Great Zhao or not. It didn't matter if it was the cultivation world. Qin Shujian treated everyone equally. He didn't want to get involved in many things, and there was only one reason why he didn't want to get involved. It was meaningless. If it were an ordinary person, hearing the two words Emperor Qin, they would either be ecstatic or immediately distance themselves from the matter. But Qin Shujian did not do that. He accepted the title calmly. So what if it was the Emperor Qin? So what if it was not the Emperor Qin? For Qin Shujian, it didn't matter. It was just a title, an honorific. And with his current strength, he was qualified to accept this honorific. If the human emperor fell out with him because of this, he was destined to be a narrow-minded person, so there was no need to say more. In the ancient times, the Emperor of Heaven ruled all races, and there were also human emperors in the human race. In fact, the human race was ruled by the Emperor of Heaven and the human emperor. The god race only has a high priest at the 10th level of the celestial being realm, but there is no second Nirvana realm powerhouse. It's the same for the demon race. There are still some things that can't be exposed. Qin Shujian thought of the various big clans. As far as he knew, among these big clans, there was only one emperor. Qin Shujian would never believe that after so many years, there was no second Nirvana realm powerhouse among the various clans. But there was none now. There was only one possibility. The emperors of the various clans were suppressing them, so that the others did not have the chance to break through to the Nirvana realm. Or rather, those powerhouses also knew that they could not break through to the Nirvana realm. Once they did, they might face a death tribulation, just like the high priest of the god race. As for that person, Qin Shujian thought that the other party's strength was enough to break through to the Nirvana realm, but in fact, he did not break through. There was only one reason. The high priest of the god race was suppressing his realm and did not dare to let him break through, because once he broke through, it might cause the division of the human race. In this way, in fact, when a second emperor is born in every clan, they will face such a situation. The two words, Emperor Qin, are just picking up everything from the dark side to the bright side. However, Black Crow Taoist openly said the two words, Emperor Qin. What is his purpose? Is it unintentional or intentional to divide the human race? Qin Shujian's expression was indifferent. However, he only thought about it in his heart and did not have the intention to find out the truth. So what if it was divided? So what if it was not divided? If the human race treated him with sincerity, then he would treat the human race with sincerity. If the human emperor really wanted to break off with him, at most, he would just ignore the mess of the human race. With his own strength, he was qualified to rule over a region wherever he went. And without the restraint of the human race, Qin Shujian believed that he could do things more freely. Maybe his strength could grow even faster. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian whispered to himself, if I really become an emperor, what will you do? Will you tacitly accept my existence or suppress me? In ancient times, the human race also had many emperors. It's not as complicated as you think. Godslayer's voice sounded in the sea of consciousness. Qin Shujian said with a faint smile, maybe, complicated or not, it was not a big problem. His current strength was enough to support him to do a lot of things. Even if he left the human race, there would be no problem. He had enough strength. Qin Shujian was also very confident. The next day, Qin Shujian, Black Crow Taoist, and East City Lord went out of the city. Outside the city, the body of the flood dragon was still there. In the eyes of the three, that pressure was nothing. It is rumored that the demon emperor came from the flood dragon clan. I wonder if it is true? Looking at the flood dragon in front of him, Qin Shujian said lightly, compared with the giant dragon that occupied the galaxy when he saw the star sage, the flood dragon in front of him was really too weak. Black Crow Taoist said, the demon emperor is indeed from the flood dragon clan. There is a dragon transformation pool in the demon clan, which is a supreme treasure left from ancient times. All the experts of the flood dragon clan will enter the dragon transformation pool when they reach the 10th level of the celestial being realm. Once they succeed, they will transform into the body of a flood dragon and become a true dragon. But if they can't get out, then the dragon transformation pool will absorb the experts who enter it and transform them into their own strength. Dragon transformation pool. Hearing this name, Qin Shujian and East City Lord looked at each other. Obviously, the two of them were very unfamiliar with this name. In the Sea of Consciousness, Godslayer said, the dragon transformation pool is the supreme treasure of the ancient demon clan, which is comparable to the immortal ranking of the myriad clans and the heavenly mirror. But this supreme treasure should be broken. I don't believe that the dragon transformation pool can be intact after the great tribulation of the ancient times. But even if it is broken, it can still transform the body of a true dragon, so its grade must be high. If you have the chance to get it, it will be a rare supreme treasure. He had the know-it-all. Qin Shujian soon understood what the dragon transformation pool was. It was indeed a top supreme treasure that was comparable to the immortal ranking of the myriad clans and the heavenly mirror. It is said that the dragon transformation pool is the top supreme treasure of the demon clan in ancient times, which is comparable to the immortal ranking of the myriad clans in the heavenly court. I wonder if the dragon transformation pool in the hands of the demon clan is intact? You are really knowledgeable, Emperor Qin, Black Crow Taoist sighed. He didn't expect Qin Shujian to know about the existence of the dragon transformation pool. Then, he shook his head and said, the dragon transformation pool has been broken long ago. But even so, it is still an 8-seal Taoist instrument, the real foundation of the demon clan. Without the dragon transformation pool, the luck of the demon clan will drop by at least 1/3. Brother Black Crow, do you hate the demon clan a lot? The Black Crow clan was destroyed by the demon emperor. Hatred is not enough to describe it. The meaning of my existence is to destroy the demon clan and avenge the millions of creatures of the Black Crow clan. If Emperor Qin wants to take the dragon transformation pool, I can lead the way for you. But the dragon transformation pool is heavily guarded, and there are many powerful flood dragons. It is not easy to take it quietly. If there is a big noise, it will alert the demon emperor. It is very difficult. Black Crow Taoist said with a serious expression. He and the demon clan would fight to the death. If he could get the dragon transformation pool, the demon clan would definitely go crazy. The East City Lord stood to one side and listened to the conversation between the two in silence. He also felt it was ridiculous. What are they doing? They are plotting. No, they are trying to take the dragon transformation pool openly. Aren't they afraid that the demon clan will go crazy? After thinking for a while, the East City Lord felt it was normal. Qin Shujian had always been unscrupulous. He had killed several powerful figures of the demon clan and chopped off the fingers of the demon emperor. He was not afraid of angering the demon clan. As for Black Crow Taoist, he was completely barefooted and not afraid of wearing shoes. Qin Shujian shook his head slightly. I still need to think about it. The demon clan is not weak. I don't want to take the risk without full confidence. Although it was a refusal, but the meaning in his words was obvious. He did not take action now because he was not strong enough. If he was strong enough, the dragon transformation pool would definitely not belong to the demon clan. Then, Qin Shujian looked at the East City Lord and said, The City Lord wants to collect the flood dragon's blood. Take out the vessel. Hearing that, the East City Lord immediately took out a palm-sized copper basin. On the copper basin, there was a lid. Sect Master Qin, please fill it up. It's not a big deal. Qin Shujian waved his hand. A strong wind cut open the flood dragon's body, and hot blood immediately flowed out. The East City Lord immediately opened the lid, and then the copper basin was enlarged and all the blood flowed out was put in. The flood dragon's body was thousands of feet long. The blood contained in it was comparable to that of a river. About an hour later, the East City Lord said, It's enough. Seeing that, Qin Shujian took out a box from his sleeve. After opening the lid, the box was directly enlarged to catch the blood that continued to flow out. The flood dragon's blood was the most precious treasure for casting the foundation. It was incomparable to the blood of other demon clans. The East City Lord wanted the flood dragon's blood for the descendants of the Hua clan. Qin Shujian still had more than 200,000 disciples waiting to be fed, so he needed such a precious treasure. After this release, he directly released it for half a day. The originally plump flood dragon's body had almost shrunk by half. Qin Shujian sealed the wound, then closed the jade box and solemnly put it away. After doing all this, he turned his head to look at Black Crow Taoist and said, Do you want the flood dragon's blood? It's useless for me. You can take it if you want, as long as it doesn't affect the effect of the magic weapon. Then it would be impolite for me to refuse. Qin Shujian was not pretentious. He took out 3 more jade boxes and continued the bleeding. Seeing that, the East City Lord felt a little heartache. He found that he only brought 1 utensil here. It was a big loss. The flood dragon's blood. It was the most precious treasure that could only be found by chance. Black Crow Taoist obviously didn't want it. If he gave more at this time, there would be no problem at all. Unfortunately, the East City Lord had nothing to pack. Therefore, he could only watch Qin Shujian take away all the flood dragon's blood. That was because there were a few more wounds added. This time, the bleeding became faster. Only about an hour later, the 3 jade boxes were all filled. Until now, the whole flood dragon's body had dried up. But even so, the pressure did not weaken much. For this, Qin Shujian was not surprised, because the blood they released was just ordinary blood. The real essence of the flood dragon's body was the essence blood hidden deep in the body. As long as the essence blood did not dry up, the pressure would not weaken much. The next second, Qin Shujian held the flood dragon's body with one hand and left the East City. The East City Lord did not follow, because he knew what Qin Shujian was going to do. This time, he came here just to get some flood dragon's blood. If he kept following, it would be a little shameless. On the other side, Qin Shujian and Black Crow Taoist left with the Flood Dragon's body. This time, the casting. Qin Shujian did not cast it in the human clan's territory of 100,000 miles, nor in the East Continent. Instead, he directly left the human clan's territory. On a strange plain, a huge flood dragon's body fell down. Qin Shujian waved his hand and set up a defensive formation around. Then he looked at Black Crow Taoist and said, "Please protect me and don't let anyone disturb me. Otherwise, if it fails, I will not be responsible." "Don't worry, Emperor Qin. No one will disturb you." "Well, I'm going to start." Qin Shujian did not talk nonsense. He directly ignited the furnace of heaven and earth and swallowed the whole flood dragon's body. The furnace of heaven and earth burned. The surrounding temperature rose sharply. Black Crow Taoist stood in the void, paying attention to the changes around. Not long after, an anomaly appeared in the sky. Many experts within a radius of 100,000 miles began to approach the area when they sensed the anomaly. Seeing this, Black Crow Taoist shouted in a deep voice, "This is the divine weapon made by Emperor Qin of the human clan. I hope you will not disturb it." In the void. After hearing this, the nearby experts were confused at first, but soon they realized it and could not help but show a look of horror on their faces. Emperor Qin of the human clan. Who in the human clan was qualified to be called Emperor Qin? Almost without thinking, they thought of Qin Shujian. Among the human clan, not counting the human emperor, only Qin Shujian, who killed Emperor Qiju, was qualified to be called an emperor. Qin Shujian, Emperor Qin, that would make sense. Moreover, there were only so many experts who were proficient in casting in the 4 continents. Only one person could trigger the anomaly of heaven and earth. Black Crow Taoist did not need to say anything. These people could guess who was doing it. Therefore, after hearing Black Crow Taoist's words, an expert immediately said, "Don't worry, Taoist brother Black Crow. We just heard about Emperor Qin's order and came here to observe. We have no intention of disturbing you." "That's right. Why would we disturb Emperor Qin?" The other experts chimed in as well. If it were others, they would not explain so much. If they had the chance, they would even snatch the divine weapon. But Qin Shujian was different. He was an expert who was comparable to the strongest experts of the top clans. Who dared to provoke such an existence? Even the top clans such as the Monster Clan and the Deity Clan. If they did not have a grudge against the human clan, they would never want to offend him. As for the commotion he had caused, Qin Shujian did not pay attention to it. He devoted himself to casting the divine weapon, looking at the melting body of the flood dragon, then looking at Black Crow Taoist who was guarding him. An alien expert could not help but ask, "Taoist brother Black Crow, why are you guarding Emperor Qin while he is casting the divine weapon?" Is it because his meaning was obvious? He just wanted to ask if Black Crow Taoist brother had turned to the human clan. As a rogue cultivator, Black Crow Taoist brother was quite famous in the 4 continents. After all, no matter what, his strength was close to that of the emperors of the small clans. In the 4 continents, he was a top-ranked expert. Black Crow Taoist brother said, "Even if I wanted to turn to the human clan, Emperor Qin might not take me seriously. It's just that I took the task of Yuanzong and got the qualification to ask Emperor Qin to help me cast the divine weapon." Yuanzong's task. Upon hearing this, many experts began to ponder over the situation. They naturally knew what Yuanzong's task was. It was the task of Yuanzong to reward the God Clan, the Demon Clan, and the Blood Eldar. As long as they killed the experts of the 3 clans, they would get the opportunity to cast the divine weapon by Qin Shujian. However, this task was released. No one had the guts to hunt down the 3 clans and submit the task except for Black Crow Taoist brother. No matter what, the power of the 3 clans was destined. Other clans could not afford to offend them. The experts who had the strength to take action did not dare to act rashly because of the power of the 3 clans. The cultivators who dared to break the pot were not strong enough to complete the task. After all, the top rogue cultivators like Black Crow Taoist brother were very few. The other experts at this level mostly had their own clans behind them. They had their own clans. They had their fetters. There was no doubt about it. Casting the divine weapon was not something that could be done in a day or two. As time went by, the news that Qin Shujian was casting the divine weapon here had been completely spread. Many experts of the clans came here to observe, although the casting of other continents had declined. In fact, many clans wanted to cultivate strong enough forgers. A clan, once they had a strong forger, their overall strength would improve a lot. After all, in addition to relying on themselves, the divine weapon was also indispensable. Therefore, as the top forger in the 4 continents, Qin Shujian's reputation had been deeply rooted in people's hearts. It was just that he did not cast the divine weapon many times in public. Moreover, he was always in the human territory. Other cultivators had no chance to observe. This time, Qin Shujian was out of the human territory. Therefore, after the news spread out, it immediately attracted many cultivators. I've always heard that Emperor Qin is the top forger in the 4 continents. Today, I've seen it for myself. It's indeed extraordinary. The seemingly simple hammering technique secretly conforms to the rules. It's exquisite, really exquisite. Sigh, such methods are already earth-shattering. It's amazing. The experts of the various clans who came because of the fame were all amazed when they saw Qin Shujian casting the divine weapon. The outer sect watched the show, while the inner sect watched the skill. For cultivators who did not understand the Tao of forging, Qin Shujian's casting method was at most pleasing to the eye and powerful. But for cultivators who were proficient in the Tao of forging, every step of Qin Shujian's casting was extremely exquisite. It had reached a point where it could turn something rotten into something magical. After just observing for a few minutes, this was enough to convince these cultivators. At some point, an oppressive aura came. Someone looked up at the sky and said, "The thunder tribulation is coming." Hearing that, quite a number of people tactfully retreated. The thunder tribulation was coming. When it struck, it would not have eyes. If they were struck by lightning because they were too close, it would be awkward. Soon, the thunder tribulation fell with a bang. The entire casting process was extremely smooth. No experts came to interfere, and no god clan or demon clan came to stop it. Black Crow Taoist priest watched the divine weapon take shape bit by bit, feeling a little excited. He also knew a little about the reason why the major clans did not make a move. It was nothing more than Qin Shujian's strength was too strong, and the divine weapon this time was not comparable to the 8-sealed Tao artifact at all. Even if they came to interfere and make the other party fail, there would be no loss. On the contrary, if the experts of the various clans made a move, they would definitely anger Qin Shujian. When that time came, at least a few mighty figures would have to die. In order to stop the other party from forging a divine weapon, they would have to pay the lives of several mighty figures. As long as they were not fools, they would not do that. After all, mighty figures were not cabbages. In any clan, they were rare experts. A few days passed. The thunder tribulation had dissipated. And the moment the thunder tribulation dissipated, a beam of sword light cut through the sky and earth. Immediately after, a spiritual sword soared into the sky. The sound of the sword, like a dragon's roar, resounded throughout the greater world. All the cultivators who were illuminated by this sword light felt a chill in their bodies and a faint, tingling pain on their skin. All of a sudden, the way these cultivators looked at the spiritual sword also changed suddenly. They knew that the divine weapon forged by Qin Shujian must be extraordinary, but they did not expect that this divine weapon would reach such a level. With just the sword light, it had already shown that it was extraordinary. If it was really activated, it would definitely be an earth-shattering scene. "Brother Black Crow, take the sword," Qin Shujian said loudly. Black Crow Taoist had been itching for a long time. Now that he heard the other party's words, he could no longer hold back. He took a step forward and rushed to the side of the spiritual sword, directly holding the sword hilt with his palm. Ignoring the spiritual sword's struggle, he forced a drop of blood from his body and dripped it on the spiritual sword. However, before the blood completely touched the spiritual sword, it was destroyed by the burst of sword chi. Qin Shujian said, "Although this sword is a top spiritual weapon, in terms of power, it is not weaker than a top 6 sealed Dao artifact, and its killing power is even stronger. Brother Black Crow, if you want it to recognize you as its master, you'd better fuse with it with your essence blood. Hearing that, Black Crow Taoist was not surprised, but the other cultivators' expressions changed drastically. A top spiritual weapon comparable to a 6 sealed Dao artifact. Such a divine weapon. It was definitely one of the best in the 4 continents. Even if it did not have the effect of suppressing fate, it would still be the same. On the other side, Black Crow Taoist followed Qin Shujian's instructions and fused a drop of his essence blood into the spiritual sword. In an instant, the sword trembled violently, and bursts of dragon's roar resounded through the world. Black Crow Taoist suddenly held the long sword in his hand and suddenly slashed toward the void. The condensed sword chi directly cut through the void, crossed thousands of miles, and flattened a 10,000-foot mountain. Ha ha ha, good sword, it's really a good sword. Black Crow Taoist looked up to the sky and laughed. He almost did not activate the sword just now. It was completely relying on the sharpness of the long sword to achieve such an effect. As for the others, they had completely fallen into a daze. Strong. It was really too strong. Black Crow Taoist was reluctant to let go of the long sword. Then he looked at Qin Shujian and said, "May I ask what is the name of this sword?" "This sword has no name. Brother Black Crow, you can bestow it yourself." Hearing that, Black Crow Taoist looked at the spiritual sword in his hand and muttered to himself, "Since this sword is based on the body of the flood dragon, then it will be called the dragon-slaying sword." That's right. From now on, you will be called the dragon-slaying sword. Dragon-slaying sword. Dragon-slaying sword. The grudge between Black Crow Taoist and the demon clan was not a secret. At this moment, the other party gave the spiritual sword this name, and his thoughts were already clear. Dragon slaying. It was not an ordinary dragon, but the current demon emperor. From this, it could be seen. Black Crow Taoist was eager for revenge. At this moment, Qin Shujian also looked at the experts of the other clans and said in a clear voice, "The mission that I have issued is still valid. If you can kill the almighty of the 3 clans, you can get a divine weapon that is not weaker than the dragon-slaying sword. If you can kill the saint of the 3 clans, you can also get a top divine weapon that is comparable to a 5 sealed Dao artifact. If you are transcendent, you can get a divine weapon that is comparable to a 4 sealed Dao artifact. If you are worried about exposing your identity and being hated by the 3 clans, then assassination is fine. Anyway, send someone to send the corpse to the Eastern City Origin Pavilion, and I will forge the divine weapon. At that time, I will secretly send the divine weapon to your hands, ensuring that no one will know. Remember, this mission is valid forever. You can think about it carefully." As soon as his voice faded, Qin Shujian suddenly looked at the void in the distance, then took out the Godslayer and slashed in that direction. The stone saber was unparalleled. In an instant, the vacuum was shattered. In the distant void, a hidden expert's expression changed greatly, and he turned around and fled without thinking. At this moment, the heavenly list flew out from the sea of consciousness. The power of the 8 sealed Dao artifact filled the sky and forcibly suppressed the cultivator. In the next moment, the stone saber slashed down. The cultivator didn't even have time to resist and was directly cut in 2 by Zhu Bing. He died. Looking at the overflowing rule power, the expressions of many experts changed greatly. Many people recognized that it was a mighty figure of the Blood Eldar. Many people didn't know. There was a mighty figure of the Blood Eldar hiding in the side. They didn't expect that Qin Shujian would kill him with a single slash. It was as if he didn't kill a mighty figure, but a slightly stronger ant. Just as that mighty figure was about to perish, a terrifying aura erupted from the blood spirit's secret realm. The void collapsed. A middle-aged man had already stepped out, looking at Qin Shujian indifferently. "You killed a mighty figure of the Blood Eldar in the North Continent. Do you really think that the Blood Eldar has no one?" Bloodling Huang. Seeing the person who came, all the cultivators' expressions changed greatly. Some of the onlooking experts retreated without hesitation. As for Black Crow Taoist, his expression instantly became solemn as he landed directly beside Qin Shujian. He didn't escape. because Qin Shujian was still there. However, facing Bloodling Huang, Black Crow Taoist was also under great pressure. His opponent's strength, he was comparable to a demon emperor. As for how strong a demon emperor was, for Black Crow Taoist, it was a nightmare. Although he dared to name the divine weapon Dragon Slayer, it was actually just for show. If the demon emperor was standing here, Black Crow Taoist's first reaction would not be to rush up, but to turn around and run. How dare you secretly covet it? So what if I kill you? Qin Shujian put his hands behind his back, looked at Bloodling Huang in front of him, and said calmly, "Why, Bloodling Huang, are you going to stand up for him? You're arrogant." Bloodling Huang's indifferent expression gradually became gloomy. After he finished speaking, no one spoke again. The two of them faced each other in the void, and the two terrifying auras had already silently collided. The space quietly collapsed. It could be in the past breath, or it could be in the past hour. Qin Shujian suddenly took out the heaven list and suppressed Bloodling Huang. Boom! The long river of laws surged. Bloodling Huang punched out, and the terrifying power directly exploded on the heaven list. However, the heaven list was an 8-seal Dao artifact, and it was also a treasure of luck. In terms of power, it was not inferior to an ordinary 9-seal Dao artifact. So when Bloodling Huang punched out, the heaven list only shook slightly, but his fist was cracked by the force. Looking for an opportunity, Qin Shujian took a step forward, and the Godslayer slashed down. Zhu Bing's edge was unparalleled. Even the long river of laws could not stop it. Bloodling Huang took a step forward, and the injury on his fist instantly healed. The long river of laws under his feet surged. The moment he pushed out with his palm, the sea of blood rose in the void, as if to swallow Qin Shujian. However, the moment the sea of blood rose, the heaven list fell again. The power that was enough to suppress heaven and earth directly condensed the sea of blood. At the same time, the Godslayer slashed out, and the blade aura tore the sea of blood. Bloodling Huang took a step back, and the long river of laws shook, forcibly breaking through the suppression of the heaven list. The monstrous sea of blood recovered again. The speed of the two's battle was neither fast nor slow, but every time they collided, it turned the void thousands of miles into turbulence. When the onlookers saw this scene, they were all shocked and did not dare to look away for a moment. So strong. This was the only thought in everyone's heart. What they said was so strong. It was not referring to Bloodling Huang, but Qin Shujian. Bloodling Huang's strength. It had long been deeply rooted in people's hearts. However, there were many people who had witnessed Qin Shujian's strength with their own eyes, but more people were still in a state of hearing. Moreover, although Emperor Qi Ju was an emperor, he had not stepped into the Nirvana realm. Qin Shujian was able to kill him, so there was no need to deny his strength. However, whether he could really rival the supreme powerhouses of the top clans was still up for debate. But at this moment, no one doubted it anymore, because there was no need. Bloodling Huang personally made a move and fought with Qin Shujian. But until now, Bloodling Huang did not have the upper hand. From this, it could be seen. Qin Shujian's strength was already comparable to the supreme powerhouses of the top clans. Boom! Heaven and earth was used, and a giant tens of thousands of feet tall stood proudly in the sky. The long river of laws tore through the air. Qin Shujian grabbed the sea of blood with both hands. His body was corroded, and he forcefully tore the sea of blood into pieces. Then, he took another step forward and forced Bloodling Huang to retreat with his saber. His left hand had already blasted out like lightning. Bloodling Huang could not dodge in time, and directly took Qin Shujian's punch. A terrifying power erupted. His body collapsed. However, Bloodling Huang was also a ruthless person. When his body collapsed, he did not retreat. Instead, he approached and also punched Qin Shujian's chest. That terrifying power. Even the 9 tribulations' immortal body could not resist it. Both of their bodies exploded at the same time. As the terrifying shockwaves erupted, both of them retreated 100 miles. Immediately after, they collided fiercely again. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying power swept through heaven and earth and spread out in a mighty manner. After an unknown period of time, the suppression of the heaven list fell and the void shattered. When Bloodling Huang bombarded Qin Shujian's body until it collapsed, his shoulder was also shattered by the suppression of the heaven list. In the end, he tore the void with one hand and turned to leave. At the same time, Qin Shujian did not exchange blows with his opponent. The god-slaying saber split open the void and disappeared from where it was. The two of them came quickly and retreated quickly. Only the unquenchable power was left raging in the void. Many of the onlookers were speechless. After a long time, only then did a cultivator break the silence. Who won this battle? Yes, who won? Bloodling Huang was gone. Qin Shujian was also gone. It seemed that both of them were seriously injured. Under such circumstances, who was the winner? It should be a tie. Some cultivators sighed. The other cultivators were silent. A tie. It was actually a draw. All the cultivators could foresee that after today, Qin Shujian's name would spread in the 4 continents again. Qin Shi Huang. It was unknown who said this. It immediately attracted the approval of others. Qin Shi Huang. After today, perhaps these 2 words would be even more deeply rooted in the hearts of the people than Qin Shujian's real name. They came back to their senses from the battle between the 2 emperors. Some cultivators' eyes also flickered. Bloodling Huang could not do anything to Qin Shi Huang. In other words, Qin Shi Huang's mission was indeed effective. After all, there was no need for an expert of this level to lie. Thinking of the dragon-slaying sword in Black Crow Daoist's hand, and then thinking of what Qin Shujian had said, some of the cultivators' hearts were already stirred up by quite a bit of waves. Subsequently, these cultivators also retreated. At the same time, the 2 words, Qin Shi Huang, also officially spread. P.S. I'll update immediately after writing. Get ready to sleep. Good night. Chapter 6:14. The battle between the human clan's Qin Emperor and the Blood Eldar, Bloodling Huang, in the North Continent. It shocked the world. Every clan would have an emperor. However, there were only a few top-notch emperors. Before the human clan left the East Continent, there were only 4 emperors who stood at the top. The Blood Eldar, Bloodling Huang. The God Clan, Divine Emperor. The Monster Clan, Monster Emperor. The Ancient Buddha Clan, Ancient Buddha Emperor. The 4 of them were the ones who stood at the top of the 3 continents. The rest of the emperors, and even the strongest of the Nirvana realm, even if they were powerful, they were still slightly weaker than the 4. But now, behind the 4, there was one more human clan's Qin Emperor. As for the human emperor, he was above all the cultivators. In the battle when the East Continent opened, the human emperor fought against the emperors of the 4 clans, and vaguely had the title of the strongest of the 4 continents. It was just that the clans resisted the human clan. They didn't admit that the human emperor was the strongest of the 4 continents, but they didn't admit it. But the truth was the truth. The fact that the human emperor was above all the other emperors. Now, there was another Qin emperor. The human clan's power was unparalleled. On a mountain peak, Qin Shujian stepped out of the void. At this time, the aura on his body was slightly weak, but his broken body had completely recovered. He sat cross-legged on the top of the mountain. Qin Shujian breathed in and out the aura of heaven and earth. After half a day, he opened his eyes again. As expected of the 4 emperors, Bloodling Huang is indeed powerful, but it seems that his injuries haven't completely recovered. This battle is about the same. For outsiders, they couldn't tell who won and who lost this battle. But for Qin Shujian, this battle was serious. In fact, he lost a little, because Bloodling Huang's injuries hadn't completely recovered. In this case, he couldn't gain any advantage. Naturally, he lost, but the difference was very subtle. It was negligible. However, it wouldn't be difficult to make up for it. Qin Shujian looked into the distance, and the battle seemed to be replaying in his eyes. As long as I break through to the next level, I should be able to crush Blood Spirit Emperor, and as long as I refine another emperor, I will be able to refine him. My strength will also officially stand on the same level as Xueling Huang and the others. He was referring to the same level. This referred to the situation where he did not borrow the Dao artifact Zubing and did not belong to experts like Xueling Huang. In the battle just now, in fact, Qin Shujian had borrowed the power of the Dao artifact and Zhu Bing to fight to a draw with Bloodling Huang. If you discard these, he was still no match for Xueling Huang. However, although external objects were external objects, they were still a part of a cultivator's strength. Then, Qin Shujian took out the heaven list. Then, he took out a lot of blood from his storage ring and dripped it on it. Immediately, a lot of information appeared on the heaven leaderboard. Name, race, age, 12, 236 realm, heaven being 10th level, nirvana, combat strength, 38, 400 talent assessment, genius, 38,400. Qin Shujian raised his eyebrows slightly. Xueling Huang's combat strength was neither high nor low. He was referring to the 4 emperors. Except for the ancient Buddha emperor, he had already obtained the attributes of the other 3 emperors. Among them, the demon emperor's combat strength was the highest. The divine emperor's combat strength was the lowest. However, there was not much difference between the highest and the lowest. This also explained it from another perspective. The strength of the several emperors was very close. If they fought to the death, both sides would suffer. And in their respective secret realms, they were in an invincible state. Qin Shujian finally understood why the major clans were able to remain relatively unscathed. Under the circumstances where they could not destroy the other party's clan, no one would easily start a big dispute. At most, there would be some friction on a daily basis, but it was unlikely to use all the strength of the clan to fight. At this time, Qin Shujian put away the heaven leaderboard and then turned his head to look in a certain direction. Not long after, a man stepped on the air and landed in front of Qin Shujian. Qin Emperor. Brother Black Crow's perception is sharp. Looking at Black Crow Taoist in front of him, Qin Shujian said lightly. The other party could sense his presence. Such perception was naturally very sharp. But the magic weapon has been cast. Why did you come to me instead of leaving on your own? I came this time for Qin Emperor. What's the matter? Qin Shujian's expression did not change. Black Crow Taoist said, I just want to remind Qin Emperor that there is only one emperor in each big clan for generations. The reason is that there is only one emperor. 5,000 years ago, there was a supreme master of the demon clan who had just broken through the nirvana realm, but he suddenly died when exploring a secret realm. 3,000 years ago, there was a master of the blood Eldar who was about to enter the nirvana realm, but he also died in the hands of the demon royal in a conflict with the demon clan. In the past 10,000 years, no nirvana realm master of the god clan died, but the high priest of the god clan stayed at the 10th level of the celestial being realm for thousands of years and never took that step. Black Crow Taoist did not say too much. He just used the various clans as an example. How could a supreme expert of the nirvana realm die just like that in the secret realm? The nirvana realm master who died in the hands of the demon royal was also full of accidents. The most straightforward one was, there were 2 powerful figures of the god clan in the human territory in front of him. The emperor god had not recovered from his injuries, and the bloodling Huang was more powerful. How could he not do it? These things, Qin Shujian also understood in his heart. Then, he looked at Black Crow Taoist and said lightly, So you called Qin Emperor in front of me to remind me? Exactly. Black Crow Taoist priest nodded and said, The Qin Emperor is indeed extremely powerful, but each clan can only have one emperor. In fact, the name of the Qin Emperor has already been spread among some clans since that great war. But at that time, the name of Qin Emperor was not widely spread, and many practitioners had never heard of it. But paper can't wrap the fire. Qin Emperor's name will be spread all over the 4 continents one day. And before that, the human race will certainly get the news. If Qin Emperor knows nothing about it, and if the human emperor takes any action, Qin Emperor will be plotted against. Qin Shujian looked at him quietly. He believed half of what Black Crow Taoist said at most. More importantly, he was not related to Black Crow Taoist, so why would he be so kind to remind him? There was no such thing as being kind for no reason. Black Crow Taoist must have his reasons for doing so. Qin Shujian asked, "Why did you do that?" His voice was calm, but there was an invisible pressure coming from the void, which made Black Crow Taoist's face change slightly. That pressure, it was like a sharp blade hanging over his head, which would fall down at any time. However, Black Crow Taoist was not afraid, but said bluntly, "I have an endless hatred for the demon race. But my power is limited, and it is impossible for me to destroy the demon race. Many clans and forces in the other continents are also dissatisfied with the demon race, but this dissatisfaction is not enough to make them fight against the demon race. Only the human race can go out of the East continent and become the enemy of the demon race. If there is a chance, the demon race will destroy the human race, and so will the human race. It's just that the human race is weak now, and only the human emperor and Qin emperor have the power to deal with the demon race. Of the two, I am more familiar with Qin emperor, who is decisive in killing and shows no mercy to the demon race. Therefore, I don't want to see anything happen to Qin emperor, so that the demon race will have one less threat." Black Crow Taoist said what was on his mind, because he knew, in front of such a powerful practitioner, lying was not very useful. The more powerful he was, the more he could see through his mind. In Black Crow Taoist's view, Qin Shujian must be a powerful practitioner in the Nirvana realm, and he had to be at least in the 10th level of the celestial being realm if he wanted to lie in front of him. Besides, if he lied at this time, it would inevitably make the relationship between them fall to the freezing point. Therefore, Black Crow Taoist decided to tell Lin Fan everything that was on his mind. Hearing that, Qin Shujian understood Black Crow Taoist's plan, and then looked at him with a faint smile. "Are you afraid that if I die, there will be one less person to deal with the demon race, or you want to use me to deal with the demon race?" "I dare not." Black Crow Taoist looked at that smile and felt his scalp tingling. "How dare I use Qin Emperor? Although I have a selfish idea, it is definitely for Qin Emperor's sake." "Well, I already know about it." Qin Shujian looked away, and the smile disappeared, and his face became calm again. Seeing that, Black Crow Taoist cupped his hands. "Then I will leave now. If there is a chance in the future, I will see you again." After that, Black Crow Taoist stepped into the air and left. On the top of the mountain, Qin Shujian looked at Black Crow Taoist's back as he left, but he still did not use the knife in his sea of consciousness. "Forget it. Now that I finally have an advertising spokesperson, it is better not to act casually. Although Black Crow Taoist's idea is not so pure, it does not harm my interests." Qin Shujian shook his head and decided to let Black Crow Taoist go. If the other party had any bad idea, he would have already slashed with the knife. On the other side, after Black Crow Taoist left Qin Shujian's sight, he felt that his back was soaked in cold sweat. In front of the other party, he always felt that the two eyes seemed to contain endless sharpness, which would turn into a shocking power at any time. With Qin Shujian's strength, if he really wanted to kill him, he would definitely not be able to escape. Fortunately, Black Crow Taoist thought that he did not mean to harm Qin Shujian, so he was not so flustered. However, that pressure was still present, until he was completely out of Qin Shujian's sight. Only then did Black Crow Taoist have the illusion of surviving a disaster. In the future, I can't casually be alone with such an expert. The longer I cultivate, the more abnormal these people's hearts are. If they are in a bad mood and really want to make a move, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape. For the sake of his life, Black Crow Taoist decided not to be so reckless in the future. Breakthrough. He had to break through. Not to mention breaking through to the Nirvana realm, he had to at least step into the 10th level of the celestial being realm. As long as he stepped into the 10th level of the celestial being realm, even if a supreme expert like Qin Shujian were to make a move, he would still have the confidence to escape. He would not be like now, without any sense of security. After rejoicing, Black Crow Taoist's eyes became cold again. Looking in the direction of the western region, his heart was boiling with killing intent. "Demons, just you wait. If I don't kill you until you don't dare to walk out of the secret realm, my name will be written upside down." In the next moment, he had already summoned the dragon-slaying sword. The spirit sword seemed to have sensed Black Crow Taoist's killing intent. The astonishing sword light swallowed and spat out traces of overflowing sword chi, cutting the surrounding space apart. With the dragon-slaying sword, Black Crow Taoist was confident that even if it was an expert of the 10th level of the celestial being realm, he would still have the strength to fight. As for cultivators of the same realm, he was even more confident in killing them. There were a few 10th level celestial being realm experts in the demon clan. At most, there were only one or two of them, and they were all guarding the demon clan's secret realm. Black Crow Taoist's target was not these 10th level celestial being realm experts. His target, it was the demon clan cultivators below the 10th level of the celestial being realm. Thinking of his hatred for the demon clan, Black Crow Taoist's pitch-black eyes flashed with a bloody light. He immediately licked his lips and revealed a cruel and cold smile. Demon clan, wait for your death. Boom! A long sword cut through the void. A Taoist stepped on the sword as if he was flying on a sword. Just this immortal. It seemed that his killing intent was a little heavy. On the other side, Qin Shujian also left the North Continent and returned to the human territory. The reason he dared to recuperate in the North Continent, it was because he had just fought with Xueling Huang, and the other party was also seriously injured. Under such circumstances, Xueling Huang would not be so stubborn as to continue to hunt him down. In the North Continent, except for Xueling Huang, the only one who could pose a threat to him was the ancient Buddha Emperor. However, the ancient Buddha Emperor is not doing well now. Si Hanhai's growth is too fast. It's surprising. What happened in the ancient Buddha clan had long been spread. How could Qin Shujian not know? As for Si Hanhai, Qin Shujian did not have any ill feelings toward him. If possible, he would like to meet with him and have a good chat. Even under such circumstances, there was no problem in letting him return to the human race. Si Hanhai had caused a big commotion. However, it was only targeted at hostile races. They were hostile to begin with. Was he afraid that they would go crazy and bite him? It was just that Si Hanhai's whereabouts were erratic. In addition, the human race did not have much control over the other 3 continents. Yuan Pavilion was completely suppressed in the human territory. As a result, Yuan's sex information about the other 3 continents was also very weak. After returning to the human territory, Qin Shujian directly entered the passage and returned to the East Continent. Just as he stepped into the entrance of the passage, the person guarding the passage was still the same heavenly being. However, Qin Shujian left too quickly. That person did not have a chance to speak. Qin Shujian had already left. Just as Qin Shujian was about to use the portal, his heart suddenly moved. He turned his head to look at a certain place. He stopped in his tracks and then stepped into the void to leave. A peak that was thousands of feet high, but it seemed to have been cut in half. The originally precipitous mountain peak had already become flat and level, and on the platform of the peak, there seemed to be a faint imprint. A wave of pressure that did not dissipate spread. It was even stronger than the pressure of the flood dragon's corpse. On the platform, a person stood with his hands behind his back. Not long after, Qin Shujian also came here. This is where the heavenly demon temple of the East Continent's demon clan used to be. That is the powerful imprint left by Zhu Bing. This pressure will not dissipate for the next few hundred years. The human emperor is not in the central state prefecture today. Why are you here? Qin Shujian glanced at the imprint of the heavenly demon temple, and then his gaze fell on the human emperor. The human emperor came at this time. He had some guesses in his heart. However, Qin Shujian could not figure out the human emperor's purpose for the time being, so he came to see him. Hearing this, the human emperor turned around, looked at Qin Shujian, and said with a faint smile, "A few days ago, the imperial court received some news that sect master Qin has already claimed the title of emperor, so I came to see if it's true." At the mention of the word emperor, the surrounding atmosphere also became more solemn. Qin Shujian said calmly, "If it's true, what will the human emperor do? Was he going to suppress him? Or was he going to turn a blind eye to this news?" He also wanted to know what the human emperor was thinking. "I only want to ask you, do you want to be the Qin emperor?" The human emperor did not answer but asked instead. Did he want to be the Qin emperor? This question made Qin Shujian fall into deep thought. Did he want to be the emperor? In fact, even he himself did not know about this matter. But it was good to be the emperor. It did not matter to Qin Shujian whether he was the emperor or not. On the contrary, it was the human emperor's idea. He had to know. So after a short silence, Qin Shujian said with a faint smile, "If I want to be the Qin emperor, what should I do?" As soon as he finished speaking, the scene fell silent. Immediately after, the human emperor said slowly, "If you want to be the Qin emperor, then you are the Qin emperor." Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, the long river of laws in the sky shook, as if responding to the human emperor's words. At the same time, the great Zhao's luck was shaking. The luck of the human clan was also shaking. Such a change. All the humans in the East continent seemed to have sensed something. They looked up at the sky, but they could not see anything. On the platform on the peak, Qin Shujian's expression suddenly changed. He did not expect the change in front of him. What did that mean? Did the human emperor approve of his position? But if he approved of his position, why would it cause such a big change? Qin Shujian was a little confused. The change in front of him was beyond his expectations. No, everything that had happened since he returned to the East continent was beyond his expectations. The human emperor put his hands behind his back and looked at Qin Shujian with a burning gaze. What is the human emperor? In my opinion, the human emperor's duty is not to rule the human clan, but to expand the territory and establish a foundation for the human clan. In ancient times, the human clan had 5 emperors. In ancient times, the human clan also had 2 emperors. There has never been more than 1 emperor. However, as the human clan declined, the number of emperors that could be born became fewer and fewer, so it gradually evolved into what it is today. If you become an emperor, you have to shoulder the responsibility of the human clan's rise and fall. If the human clan is destroyed, the emperors will not be complete. If the human clan rises, the emperors will prosper. The human emperor's voice was not loud, but it was like the sound of the heavens. It echoed in the world, and even the entire East continent. Under the long river of laws, the long river of time flowed over. In Qin Shujian's eyes, he could see broken images in the long river of time. Some experts ruled the human clan and expanded the territory for the human clan. Some experts sacrificed themselves to pass on the human clan's torch. Some experts, those scenes flashed in front of Qin Shujian's eyes. The human clan has existed since the birth of heaven and earth. In every generation, there were human emperors who either used shocking power to expand the territory or sacrificed themselves to pass on the torch, allowing the human clan to survive until today. When the human clan was at its peak, the heavenly court was established and ruled all races. When the human clan declined, there were many enemies and bloody battles. If you become an emperor, you have to shoulder the responsibility of the human clan's rise and fall. Qin Shujian of the human clan, are you willing to become an emperor? The human emperor's voice was like thunder. All the living beings in the world were shocked. Qin Shujian stood rooted to the ground. Are you willing to become an emperor? The human emperor's words made him feel like a blow to the head. Qin Shujian had never thought that he wanted to be the human emperor, nor did he want to shoulder the responsibility of the human clan's rise and fall. His goal had always been, it was to cultivate peacefully and steadily, and then improve peacefully and steadily. As long as he was faster than the players in every step, he would be safe and worry-free. When he cultivated to the immortal realm in the future, he would be able to roam the world freely. But he didn't know when it started. Qin Shujian found that his actions seemed to have changed. When the vassals besieged the imperial city, if the imperial court didn't send any representatives and only sent someone to invite him, would he go back? If the demon clan wreaked havoc in Baiyun Mansion, would he sit back and do nothing? If the human clan left the eastern continent, would he fight to the death for the human clan? The top clans of the 3 continents suppressed the human clan. Why would Sky Origin Sect take the lead? Everything that had happened in the past, all of them flashed through Qin Shujian's mind. It turned out that he didn't know when it started, but deep in his heart, He had already considered the human clan. He also didn't know when it started. He had already completely integrated into this world. It might have been when he became the master of Mount Liang, or when he established Sky Origin Sect. Qin Shujian found that the more he did, the deeper his bond with Sky Origin Sect and the human clan. In other words, if the human emperor attacked him now and drove him out of the human clan, in the future, when the human clan faced the crisis of extinction, would he stand by and do nothing? Qin Shujian fell into deep thought. He suddenly found that the human clan was quite good, and it was also quite good for him to be a human clan. It was just that he had never thought about it. There would be a day when he would shoulder the responsibility of the human clan's rise and fall. All of a sudden, Qin Shujian thought of a sentence. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. If his current strength wasn't enough to rival the top experts, it wouldn't be his turn to carry this banner. But obviously, there were no ifs. In the sea of consciousness, Godslayer fell silent, which was rare for him. He didn't say anything unnecessary, not even a sound. Obviously, Godslayer wanted Qin Shujian to make his own choice. Qin Shujian of the human clan, are you willing to be the emperor? His voice was as vast as the sound of heaven, and it directly woke Qin Shujian up. This was the human emperor's second question. Are you willing to be the emperor? Qin Shujian looked at the human emperor, looked at the river of time, looked at the vast destiny of the great Zhao dynasty and the human clan. Everything flashed through his mind one by one. Finally, he bowed slightly. This bow was not to the human emperor, but to the entire human clan's destiny. Qin Shujian of the human clan is willing to be the emperor. As soon as he finished speaking, heaven and earth shook. The human emperor took out the great Zhao imperial jade seal and said loudly, "From today onwards, you are the Qin emperor, and I am the Zhao emperor. Eastern continent." The destiny of the human clan was rolling. P.S. Support the original version, Chidian Chinese networks, I am decent. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.